Hello, everybody. In my show prep, I just found a really funny story. It says Barbie is going to release a LeBron James Ken doll with custom design featuring tributes to Akron. I didn't see that one coming. Let me turn up the lights here a little bit. Looks a little dim. Kept them low. What about this one? Yeah, this one's fine. All right, let's make sure we are streaming today, and we will begin the episode. Hello, Kenneth. Hello, David. Hello, everybody. See, they are still watching us on YouTube. YouTube suspended us for a week, and I lost these fellers. So I encourage everyone out there to follow the New American Media on Rumble.
Late night too.
There we go. Please follow the New American Media on Rumble, who has never messed with us, and we're monetized. YouTube demonetized us, and they always mess with us. So I'm grateful to the millions of views that we've had over there over the past 14 years, but doesn't mean I'm loving them today. Just trying to confirm that I am in fact streaming on Facebook. Yes, I am. That is fantastic. So I will say join us live in these three groups. Yeah, see, we have a ton of groups on Facebook. I don't even advertise the groups, but they are pretty great. So one is TNAM, TNAM preparedness. TNAM preparedness. Streaming on Rumble. That's good. We're also TNAM fake news, ? Debunking conspiracy theories and propaganda. And then TNAM's the Agree to Disagree show. So I'm going to say our show is live. Join us. Await us. Perfect. We are good to go on Facebook. Good to go on Rumble. The final test. Am I live on DLive? Oh, it still says streamer offline. Streamer offline message from DLive. Wah, wah. We've added some channels because YouTube messed with us. See, it's so weird. I can type streamer off live on DLive, wah, wah, and it'll show up in the comments, but it's not broadcasting from Restream over to DLive. Oh, well, that's why we're on Kick. That's why we're on Twitch. In fact, at the bottom of the screen here, real quick, link up with us in these places. Search the New American Media on Instagram, Facebook, Truth Social, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch, Kick, DLive, YouTube, the New American Media. On Telegram and Signal, we're TNAM and TNAM Chat. TNAM and TNAM Chat. X at American_media_. And sub to the Agree to Disagree show on Spotify and Apple. Agree to Disagree is the name of this show. I've really kind of enjoyed the TNAM AM show, kind of getting together and unpacking it. I'm thinking maybe Agree to Disagree should be guests. My solo shows should probably be the TNAM AM show or the TNAM PM show. Agree to Disagree when I have guests. I think that's the case. Also, our donation links at the bottom of the screen. Patreon at the New American Media. Thank you to our new subscribers. Appreciate it. New month, new monthly supporters, billing that we can count on being direct deposited into our account. That's super cool. Thanks to anyone who's shared on Venmo at Brian Engelman, Cash App, $ Brian Engelman, or PayPal at Fuzz Installment. That's all at the bottom of the screen there if you want to pause it and buy us a cup of coffee. That's all always appreciated. Check out our TNAM documentary, Hurricane Helene, Help on the Way. When we toured the wreckage, the carnage down there in Western North Carolina. It's on Rumble and YouTube. Please like it and share it and maybe leave a comment. And we are, of course, the New American Media because the old American media has failed you. All right. We are live. The chat room is populated. Hello, everybody. David, Kenneth, and anyone else lurking out there. If you have not commented yet, please type a comment. I'd love to catch your name and where you're watching from, or your initials and where you're watching from. We encourage you to comment on today's show. We consider it more of a conversation. I'm your bartender. Pull up a seat, and we're going to look at the TV screens behind me, and we're going to watch some clips, and we're going to talk about them today. That's how you should look at this. This is you sitting at the bar, and I'm going through the news with you, and we're having a conversation about it. Oh, you're going to hear what I think, but I would love to hear what you think. So type your comments, hit like, hit subscribe, however you're watching us, hit the little thumbs up button, the heart button. If it's on Facebook, let me tap that myself. I'm watching the playback. Listen for the playback. That Kid Rock song. I still not. Only God knows why. Only God. That's a good song. It's a good song. Only God knows why. Very good song. All right, let's get to the show. Broadcasting to you live from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, somewhere in between two formerly tariffed nations. My name is Brian Engelman. Today is Wednesday, April 9th, 2025, and this is the TNAM AM Show here on the New American Media. Thank you so much for being here. Today, we're going to talk about what is going on with Social Security. How many fake numbers are being handed out to illegal alien invaders of the United States? How culpable are the members of the deep state and the Democrat Party? Are treason charges incoming? Also, we're going to talk about economics. Big topic today. The Dow Jones is currently up. Here, let me share it with you so you don't have to take my word for it. I made the mistake of closing my browser window, so now I have to reload all of my pinned items here. But let me share the screen right there. Where is that? Okay, we'll put this right next to here. There we go. So there's a stock market, 37,802, up 156 today. Yeah, come on, guys. You're trying to freak out the generation of crypto investors. Massive swings. Things go up, things go down. Greetings, Robin McBride. If Kid Rock had a kidney stone, would he then pass a rock? Yes. What if he got rid of his kidney stone in Baghdad? Then would he pass a rock in Iraq? I know. Robin, remind me, where are you from? David's Ontario. Kenneth is Florida. Doing a roll call, trying to see how many places. Robin, are you? I feel like I might have asked you this before. You're not Florida, Georgia. We had our guy from Boston yesterday over on the Cape. I don't know. I love kind of getting a feel for where people are watching it. I love the World Wide Web. It's so fun sometimes. So, we're going to talk about the stock market and the Trump tariff rebalancing. It's important. It's important to figure out what's going on. It's important to not get freaked out by what's going on. I think it's very fair. And we're going to bust into the news. By the way, floods. Buffalo Trace is upside down all over the Ohio River. Super flooded. There's a lot of flooding going on. What's up with that? These storms have been aggressive. You don't know an aggressive storm until you decide to sleep in the basement and hunker down, put the cats somewhere safe. Oh, Robin, you are Florida. Okay. There we go. Claremont and Jacksonville represent. Have you ever seen that show, A Good Place? The Good Place. And there's a running gag about Jacksonville in there. The Good Place. It's the Ted Danson sitcom with that blonde girl. What's her name? And Chidi is that one guy. It's a good show. It's kind of funny. Kind of interesting too. But yeah, a running gag with Jacksonville. Yes, welcome, Robin and Kenneth and everybody else. Like I said, type your comments, say hello, join us here on the show. All right, let's do this. We're going to pin our Instagram feed. That's why you should be following us on Instagram, because you're going to get a heads up on the content that we're going to share. We will give you a heads up if you just watch it on Instagram, because we're going to kind of share these stories with you in advance, and then we're going to unpack them during the program. So let's talk about this. Miss Muckraker here. As a conspiracy theorist, I gotta say, I'm batting 1,000. We screamed this from the rooftops for 4 years under the previous administration. Joe Biden opened the gates to our country for all illegals, gave them our tax dollars, and allowed them to operate in our country with a social security number, all by design, an actual invasion. If you've been following the New American media, you've been following the fact that we have been onto this. Go back to Fast and Furious. You can go way back and hear us having conversations about this border. But it was under this latest Barack Hussein Obama term with Joe Biden, the puppet, being told what to do. Let's take a look. Non-citizen Social Security numbers issued. These are new non-citizen Social Security numbers issued. If they're not citizens, why are they getting a Social Security number? I don't think I like that at all. And if we know what those numbers are, we can delete them, right? If you're not a citizen, isn't a Social Security number only... Let me see what Grok has to say about this. Are Social Security numbers only meant for citizens? Because once you have a Social Security number, you could probably qualify for all sorts of things, for benefits, for voting privileges, for things that are not designed for non-citizens. Not exclusively for citizens, a broader group for the purpose of tracking earnings and administering Social Security benefits, as well as for other federal purposes like taxation. I disagree. I think this should be called something else. I think it should be called something else. 270,000 of these new non-citizen SSN numbers issued. 270,000 in 21. By the way, this is during COVID, mind you. Then it doubled, more than doubled. 590,000 in 22. Then it almost doubled again, 964,000 in 23. Then it more than doubled again, 2,095,000 in 24. That is madness. They're trying to radically change. This is a fundamental transformation of the United States of America. Reverse this. Let's take a listen. Social Security numbers handed out to criminal aliens just in the past 4 years alone. Here's a report on this.
Reveal what's really going on. Doge exposed our immigration asylum disaster. That was the tip of the iceberg. Now, here's the story. Doge has found that immigration gave a work authorization document to illegals just 5 months after they filed for asylum. That document allowed them to work while they waited to hear whether their asylum request had been accepted or denied. So they could work as an illegal, knowing it would take years before their case was heard. The Immigration Department mailed them a Social Security number. No interview, no proof of identity. Just put it in the mail. Here's your number. In 2021, Doge says 270,000 new aliens were issued Social Security numbers.
By the way, This comment here, I don't know if this is accurate, but they're saying this adds up to more than the entire populations of Wyoming, Vermont, Alaska, North Dakota, South Dakota, Delaware, Montana, Rhode Island, Maine, and New Hampshire. And they give a more detailed list here in the comments. That's 2, 3, almost 4 million people. Entire populations. So I'm not entirely certain about that, but this is colonization. This is what Obama was allegedly against. Yes, David, this is so criminal. Where are the arrests for this shit? Kenneth chiming in saying 2024 was a year of weather warfare. Yeah, and 2025 too. Look at the Ohio River. We'll get to some pictures of Buffalo Traced bourbon distillery. It's a bit of a mess. And I was just down there yesterday. I tried to drive. The levee walls were shut. They have gates that block a water surge if the Ohio River comes up too high. And it was blocked off. I had to drive around to find a different way out of downtown. I'm actually watching it right now. Look at this. Walls were shut. They have gates that block a water surge if the Ohio River comes up too high, and it was blocked off. I had to drive around to find a different way out of downtown. I'm actually watching it right now. Ben Childers.
They have gates that block.
Yeah, the KFC Yum Center. I was right there yesterday.
If the Ohio River comes up too high, and it was blocked off. I had to drive around to find a different way out of downtown.
Look at how high this is. Let me drop the volume down. You see what's going on here? I mean, it is up, up, up. There's Muhammad Ali. There's the tops of the lampposts. Yeah, and the pictures coming out of Cincinnati, just an hour away, very similar. All over the Bengals practice facility. Look at that. The off-ramp completely underwater. Yeah, that's probably exactly where I was at, trying to get onto that on-ramp. And it was all shut down and blocked off. I bet you that's exactly where I was trying to get to. Because I was right at the Yum Center right there, the KFC Yum Center. Weather warfare? I don't know. But I feel like we should start designing better pumps and better, you wouldn't call it irrigation, but better better facilities to essentially toss a drinking straw in here and pump it through some sort of system and get it to vacate, to redirect that elsewhere. Put it into the sewer system somehow. Yeah, I was right there yesterday. That is crazy. All right. Let's go ahead and jump back to the news. Yeah, I went to your comment and then I got another message about weather warfare, and it's like, all right, let's talk about that. All right, let's go back to this report.
590,000 in 2022, 964,000 in 2023, and 2.1 million in 24, right before Biden left office. Doge also discovered that 1.3 million aliens are now receiving Medicaid. Millions received driver's licenses, some registered to vote, and Doge says some actually did vote. Try and square that against Democrat claims that Musk is destroying Social Security and cutting Medicaid. He's not destroying. He's weeding out people who don't qualify. Who is really guilty of misinformation in this case? It is not Elon Musk. Fox to reveal what's really going on.
That is madness. Treasonous madness. Indict these people already. So tired of waiting. I'm with you, David. I am so tired of waiting on this crap. Get to work. Speaking of tired, you don't release mental cases like this. Have you heard this story? Let me change the aspect ratio. You don't release crazy, violent people like this ever. They lose free range privileges. What the heck is wrong with these blue cities? What is wrong with the people running these blue cities? This is an unhinged man, according to the New York Post. By the way, if this were MSNBC and the roles were reversed, how would you report this? Breathlessly. Black man slashes white woman. You don't have any racial component here. It's an old black guy attacking a young white woman. I only point this out to say when the media points out the race of people, it will only breathlessly report if they can make a white person bad. And I'm kind of tired of it. And if it can make a black person look like a victim. It is their strategy in the legacy media, the lying legacy media, the Obama doctrine of pushing racial division every opportunity possible. Think George Floyd. Think Trayvon Martin. Think Bubba Wallace. Think Juicy Smollett. LeBron James. Oh, I'll put him in there in that fake race hoax thing. Someone painted a whole bunch of racist stuff on my house, on my garage. Oh my gosh. All right, we'll be right over. We're here. There's nothing on the garage. We cleaned it up already. You cleaned it up. It's a crime scene. You just called to report it. Yeah, well, we didn't want to keep looking at it. You shouldn't have done that. Okay, let me see the video footage. The video footage. Yeah, you're LeBron James. You have a mansion and you have 24/7 surveillance and protection. That wasn't working, huh? Yeah, I'd share that video with you, but I don't have it because we don't have it. Oh, okay. Race hoax. Pushing the Obama doctrine. But you know how this story would be reported? You know how Ashley Babbitt's killing wasn't reported as a black man fires the only shot on January 6th as he kills young, white, veteran mother, young, unarmed veteran mother by shot to the throat. That wasn't reported that way. It's so curious when they in the lying legacy media decide to turn things into a racial issue. They're addicted to it. They think it works. Oh, it gets our base activated. And we have to keep them in a constant state of fear. You know who's in fear? The people of these blue cities run into the ground by Democrats who keep releasing dirtbag, crazy, violent monsters to roam the street and harm people. In this case, a young white girl. I would have no less outrage if this was a young black girl, a young Latina girl, a young Asian girl. I don't care where you're from. I don't care that this is a black man. I would have the same amount of rage if this was a white man, an Asian man, a Latino man, Middle Eastern. I don't care where a person is from. I care how they act. I don't care what they look like. I care how they act. This could have been a woman, and I would still have the same rage. But this unhinged man randomly attacked a woman with a broken bottle, slashing her throat. She does have a long throat. He had 36 mental health hearings, but he was still free The homeless man who just slashed a woman in the neck in Soho had been in and out of about 36 mental health hearings for the violent 2019 robbery of a 13-year-old boy, and later slugged an NYPD worker so badly that he broke her eye socket, sources said Tuesday. And we said, you don't release crazy, violent people like this ever. They lose free-range privileges. What the heck is wrong with these people running these blue cities? You should be upset with this story. There needs to be more done to take the homeless people off of the street, because by and large, they are mainly crazy or drug addicted crazy. Let's deal with those people first. Put them into mental institutions. You don't let the crazy, violent people back out. You don't have the right to just throw up a tent and terrorize a community forever. And by the way, George Floyd was a terror. He was a menace to his community. What was his story? He pushed a gun into a pregnant lady's belly while she was pistol whipped and robbed. Wasn't that part of his criminal history? But back to this guy. This guy is terrorizing his community. You lock these people up. You don't let them out. But for some reason, the Democrats have been able to seize control of our big blue cities. There's really no good reason why our cities have to be blue and backward. When I was in the Bronx, I was surprised. 86% Black and Dominican, I believe, is their demographic. Black and Dominican. They couldn't stand that their city had been flooded with illegal aliens. They said, we need help. What are you doing putting these illegal aliens up in 4-star hotels? We can barely afford our groceries. And my elderly friend got attacked with a metal pipe, busted her head open on the subway, and she still hasn't been right. It's been months and months, and she's still messed up. You don't let crazy, violent people out. Democrats, city residents, reclaim your cities. And honestly, as we dig into these Social Security numbers, I'll bet you the people, air quote, voting, air quote, turning in ballots that are processed as legitimate votes in these big blue cities that then redistrict, that kind of, you can have 1 or 2 counties dictate to an entire state what they have to do. I'll bet you the fraud running rampant through these big blue cities, I would not be surprised to find out no more than 30% of this country actually votes Democrat. Now, however, they've found a way to count ballots and determine these are legal ballots. And I have a story on that, by the way. The Wisconsin judge ballot, remember that one? Well, there's some accusations coming out about the unrecorded nature of how ballots were counted for the Supreme Court that could redraw the district and change the House representation in the state. The sad part of this is that we can never take a day off. They are working harder. There's so much more money in it for them to rig the system, allegedly. Yeah, divide and conquer is the plan, Kenneth. David, I've been waiting for years for this to happen. I know. You don't let crazy, violent people back out. They're going to keep doing it. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene says China should... Okay, we're good here. China should stop murdering Americans with fentanyl instead of trying to fight a tariff battle that they can't win. America is a consumption economy. We have the upper hand. And China imposes the death penalty for selling drugs in their own country, so they need to stop being hypocrites and stop murdering Americans. Did you catch that one? Did you happen to catch that one? I would agree. I was looking. I don't have any agree to disagree. They're all over here. Wait, where are they at? Where are the stingers? What am I in? 3? What about 2? Oh, there they are. Yes, do you agree or disagree with Marjorie Taylor Greene? I'm going to agree. Mike Lee is saying this is why the far left is freaking out about Doge. It was supposed to be their little secret. The 3.5 million people, almost 4 million people, non-citizens, were given social security numbers. And Wokeness putting this out. The top exporter in 1990 to 175 countries was the U.S. In 2000, we were down to 155. We lost 20. In 2010, we were the top exporter to only 85 countries. At that point, we had lost 90 from the beginning. And then in 2024, down to 35 countries, being a top exporter to only 35 countries. Our politicians let this happen. Meanwhile, China became the top exporter to 8 countries in 90, 15 in 2000, 55 in 2010, and 125 in 2024. Our politicians allowed this to happen. I'm okay with the little short-term market fluctuation. Yes, I am. I don't like looking at this. This is some bullshit right here. President Trump doing what he can to lower the cost of energy. I don't know enough about coal or clean coal to find out if I would want this to be in my backyard, if I would like to be drinking the water around these plants, if I would like to live in this area and breathe this air. I don't know. I was listening to Scott Adams. He's very hesitant to be supportive of this idea. But he's also saying, look, energy is the battle for the future. So if having the right amount of energy is going to save a whole bunch of lives, maybe it's also going to require a little bit of coal here and there. So let's take a listen to what President Trump has signed executive orders to get done.
President?
Yes, first one.
We have 4 items prepared for your signature this afternoon, sir. The first of these executive orders is...
Oh, before we get into it, let me ask you a question. Do you agree or disagree with these executive orders? I haven't really been using all of these stingers. And we're technically kind of calling this the TNAM AM Show, although it is the Agree to Disagree show. I digress. Let's listen to these executive orders.
It may be one of the most significant executive orders of your administration thus far. This directs all departments and agencies of the federal government to end all discriminatory policies against the coal industry. This ends the leasing moratorium that prevents new coal projects on federal land, and it's going to accelerate all permitting and funding for new coal projects to allow the coal industry to flourish under your leadership, sir.
That's great. Thank you. Okay.
Man, President Trump is a workhorse. This guy lives to get things done.
Sir, there are currently dozens of coal plants in America that are in imminent danger of being forced to close based on unscientific and unrealistic policies enacted by the Biden administration. What we're going to do is essentially impose a moratorium on those policies taking effect to protect coal plants that are currently operating, to ensure that they're able to continue producing power and continue providing jobs to Americans in the coal industry.
Great. Thank you very much.
Anyway, you get it. They're going to clap and keep signing. But what do you think about this? Do you agree? Do you like this move to open up coal plants? Love to hear it in your comments. Yeah, I didn't even
Hands
really
off. I was like,
cover
what?
the goofball protests over the weekend. I don't know. They're looking for attention. I don't know what we gain by giving them attention. They don't know what they're protesting. I'm not super interested in it. Anyway, let's listen to the DC hands off crowd. Why were they out?
What are we handing off? Like, what are we taking our hands off of? But when it comes down to it, these people essentially want the president and Elon Musk to get their hands off of their Social Security, hands off the education system, hands.
That's so weird because Social Security is going bankrupt because they're giving it away to illegal aliens. Or it's going bankrupt because not enough people are paying into it and the boomers are greedily taking too much out of it. Either way, I just wonder. These protests, these performance art pieces, they're in plays. They're performing a sketch. I wonder how many people realize that Social Security is not going to be available for them if we stay on this unsustainable course. Trillions of dollars in debt. 36 trillion. We're about to go bankrupt as a country. You're not going to have any benefits if our country's belly up. Everything is wrong and we're trying to tighten things up. We're trying to save the boat from sinking. But these people are out there acting like it's the opposite. Hands off our Social Security. Huh? Hands off our education system. The federal government's not supposed to be in charge of education. And look at how poorly you've performed since Carter put this in the 70s. We're a laughing stock. But a bunch of administrators are filthy rich. No, we're good. Cut it. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Afuera. Cut it. Afuera. Cut it.
Off their finances and funds because they believe that under President Trump and Elon Musk, that their government is being looted, their bank accounts are being looted, and all the rights are being taken away. So when I was on the ground covering these protests, something that I noticed that was so interesting was the demographic. Now, when you take a look at who was actually at this massive protest, this was massive, by the way, on the National Mall, as far as the eye can see, were a ton of people. I've never seen the National Mall that packed, but it was all 50 plus. It was all like AARP recipients. They were all 55 and up. They were all like just as old, elderly white people everywhere. And they were not even sure why they were even there. I went around and I asked people, so why are you here today? And they couldn't really give me a definite answer. They just say, well, why wouldn't I be here today? And I said, okay, like that doesn't make any sense. So then I would ask them, what is the one issue that you're so passionate about? What is the one problem that you have with this administration? And they would say the same thing. They would say everything. They couldn't name me one thing. So I'd say, please just name me one thing. I'm begging you. Name me just one thing you have a problem with. And they couldn't name a single thing. So then I took it a step further. If they had a sign that was interesting, I'd say, explain the sign to me. What's going on here? And there was one guy in particular that said, his sign said, end the kakistocracy. So I said, oh, for our viewers here, can you just explain? Because I don't know what the heck's going on. So his wife was like, oh, get your hand out. So the man unfolds this piece
And that wasn't put your hand out. It was get your piece of paper.
of paper, and he's reading off what a kakistocracy is. He doesn't even know what he doesn't even know what he's portraying. He doesn't even know what he's showing or holding. So this just goes to show that I don't even think these people even know what they're doing. It's clear that a lot of these people are paid and bussed in, and I think more is going to come out, especially those quarterly reports when it comes to like how much money went to the buses, how much money went to the stage, to the signage, all that kind of stuff. I'm assuming that's going to come out very soon. But definitely hands off. I was like, what are we handing off? Like, what are we taking our hands off of? But
Anyway, it just, it's so derpy. And I ran into it when I was out there in DC at the Persons March. They couldn't call it a women's march because they're trying to erase women or something. Didn't make any sense to me. But they said someone came up with an Elon sign, like, oh, I'm against Elon. I'm like, all right, tell me why. He's like, huh? What do you mean? Like, Elon? What? I go, what about him? Yeah, we're not, I hate Elon. Why do you hate Elon? Trump. Cool story, bro. Way to be articulate. That was essentially the gist of what this guy was saying. What's up, Bella's Chance? How are you? Here is Kevin O'Leary talking about the Chinese tariffs. Are they too harsh?
104% tariffs on China are not enough. I'm advocating 400%. I do business in China. They don't play by the rules. They've been in the WTO for decades. They have never abided by any of the rules they agreed to when they came in for decades. They cheat, they steal IP. I can't litigate in their courts. They take product, technology, they steal it, they manufacture it and sell it back here. Never has an administration.
400% tariffs? What would that
I
look
want
like?
Xi on an airplane to Washington to level the playing field. This is not about tariffs anymore. Nobody has taken on China yet, not the Europeans, no administration for decades. As someone who actually does business there, I've had enough. I speak for millions of Americans who have IP that have been stolen by the Chinese. I have nothing against the Chinese people. They brought great literacy, art, and tech to the world. The government cheats and steals, and finally, an administration, you may not like Trump, you may not like his style or his rhetoric, finally, an administration that puts up and says enough. 400% tariffs tomorrow morning. He'll tell you why. Xi can only stay the supreme leader if people are employed. If we wipe out any business there, because we are still 39% of all consumables on Earth and 25% of the world's GDP, America is the #1 economy on Earth with all the cards. We will not have that forever. It's time to squeeze Chinese heads into the wall now.
Well,
I'm
hold
not
on a
talking about
second,
tariffs
Kevin.
on
Well,
60
I hear you, but hold on. If we're talking about people, the average consumer, not necessarily the head honchos of businesses all across the globe, can they withstand the pressure of that sort of tax on the goods?
It's short-lived. There will be
but what's your timeline compared to, you don't know the average American's timeline, what they can actually survive. There's people right now who can't survive
400% tomorrow morning, cheese on an airplane to Washington to cut a deal. 104% tariffs on China are not enough.
People have to understand here. This is a negotiation, and we've been getting ripped for a long time. Yeah, things might temporarily be a little glitchy, but you know what's glitchy? Selling our country out. That's what's glitchy. Selling America down the river. That is sketchy. All right, let's talk about this Miss Muckraker. Breaking, White House says 104% tariffs on China have gone into effect. Trump says this is a great time to move your company into the United States of America, like Apple and so many others in record numbers are doing. 0 tariffs and almost immediate electrical energy hookups and approvals. No environmental delays. Don't wait. Do it now. He's speaking in business. We covered this report here, who was the top exporter. We went on top. We were winning 175-8, and now we're losing 35-125. You can't lose harder than we've been. China has raised tariffs on U.S. goods to 84% per CNBC. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says China can raise tariffs, but so what? Yeah, so what? The stuff we need to be making here in America. Well, it's going to be more expensive. Remember COVID when we really needed things from other places and the supply chain was messed up? Let's make the shit that we need here. And let's work on being as efficient as possible. And by the way, if we create good middle-class jobs that people can work, that are sustainable, wow, wouldn't it be great if Americans were actually getting American jobs? What a thought. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent's interview with Tucker Carlson just went viral. And he's not just talking about Trump's tariffs. Instead, he exposed the truth about what happened to America's working class. And then they break down Trump's $600 billion tariff plan. It started with a bombshell. For years, the American middle class has been eviscerated. Bessent says this isn't politics. It's backed by hard data. The 2004 China shock wrecked U.S. manufacturing and workers never recovered. China says we are prepared to deal with uncertainties. There's a picture of Xi reading Trump, The Art of the Deal. That's funny. And by we are prepared to deal with the uncertainties, they mean they have billions of expendable people and would let them starve. Yeah, let's just let's flip our cards up and let's play the rest of the hand here. Nobody flipping our cards up. Let's put our hands up. Let's kind of, hey, show us your cards. What's going on with these paid protesters?
Cares about these protests? They're fake outrage with fake people who don't even know why they're there. And they have the same paper and the same talking points, and you'll see it in these videos. Let's roll some of them.
What doesn't?
There's this paper.
Can you explain a little bit for our viewers what this means?
Go ahead.
Where's your handout?
Where's your handout, she said. Oh, got to read from the paper.
Cactocracy.
We don't know what the hell it means. We're just going to read from this.
Government by the least suitable or competent citizens of a state. Seems to fit, doesn't it?
And what brings you out here today?
What doesn't?
So lame. So lame, these people. That was actually the video they were talking about.
Mr. Hart.
Tim Burchett talking about members of Congress and where all this money is going.
Do any members of Congress, their spouses, or their immediate family have any property ownership rights to this property or any federal land?
Congressman, I don't know the answer to that question off the top of my head.
Okay, do spouses of members of Congress own real property and lease it to the federal government? And how would we find that out? Because
do they own a property that they lease out to the federal government? It's all about every tricky way that people can enrich themselves. And we've let them get away with it. If you don't keep an eye on this shit, this is exactly what you can expect to happen. God, you don't hate the Republican and Democrat parties enough. They're so in on it. That's why they hate Trump. He's like, guys, we got a good system here. He's like, no, you don't. You're going broke. I'm going to fix it.
I think I know what you're going to say.
I believe the answer to that question is yes.
You do?
I do believe that.
Is there any way we could verify that?
He does believe that family members of Congress own buildings that they lease back to the government.
Well, you go to USA Spending and search, you open the books, our website, and you can look up members' names, you can look up any person's name, and find that information.
All right. I suspect that's being done as I speak. How much would the federal government save by allowing unneeded leases to expire?
The federal government spends about $6 billion on leased office space, so depending on how many you let expire, you get substantial savings.
Mr. Hart.
And why would we lease instead of own, by the way? If it's important enough to have, isn't it important enough to own? The borrower is slave to the lender. Why would you just not pay cash and just own a piece outright and then you pay yourself rent? And if it's not that permanent, what are you wasting your energy on in the first place for? All right. You want to hear Democrat? I don't know if Jon Stewart identifies as a Democrat, but it's nice to hear these comedians kind of discussing Democrats the way that they deserve to be discussed.
Chess, and the Democrats are in the nurse's office because they glued their balls to their thigh.
The Republicans are playing chess, and the Republicans glue their balls to their thigh in the principal's office, trying to see the nurse.
Democrats have become like a royal family that, because of so much incest, has unfortunately had children who are...
Apparently the grand plan is Dems keep fecklessly complaining until the 48 approval comes down to 40.
Well, someone must tell the usual suspects on the far left that the saying is, when you're in a hole, stop digging, not keep digging. Talk about doubling down on what got you in the first place.
You're at 27%.
Democrats at a 27% approval rating. He can't even say it out loud without whispering.
You've got to get Trump to lose 8 points of popularity just for you to get to the point where you're 13 points below him. Your approval is only 7 points above, where it turns red and goes into low power mode.
You wear queers for Palestine.
You're almost, what do you say? You're 8 points away before your phone goes into saving power, low power mode. They're sniffing 15%. The Democrats are awful. And this whole, the only purpose that they exist for is to take out Trump. I'm so sick of this shit. Work on the issues facing the country. Work on infrastructure. Work on why are so many places flooding so crazy right now, and what can we think of to find ways to filter, to gather and vacate water long distances in times like this? Why can't we have like different drinking straws? Maybe some that could be brought in to fill the sewer systems elsewhere to start vacating instead of the flooding. You know, there are existential issues I would like to put some energy into. Why are cities like Maui and Pacific Palisades burnt to the ground? Can we figure out, can we put our energy and focus into ending these two wars? Or no, it's all got to be about scoring cheap political points to take out Trump. I'm sick of this shit. Just work on the issues. You have 100 things to fix, get to work. And if all you're going to do is obstruct, please go sit down. You got your ass handed to you in the last election because nobody likes you. We know who you are. We know that you've been robbing us blind. You've been pushing divisive hatred at us nonstop. You're trying to destroy the sovereignty of our country. We don't want you involved in our decision-making process. Go away. Sit down. And if you can't sit down and be quiet, you got to go. I don't know what good these Democrats are doing for the country, but there's 100 big issues facing us. Let's try to address some of them. And it's okay to work with the other side. That'll actually make you more popular. Just say, oh, look, they're finally working on some important shit. Oh, hey, they're rebalancing this trade deficit. Instead of trying to freak out every day, oh, maybe we'll put the blinking red of the stock market scaring you on MSNBC and CNN every day. We're going to scare the hell out of you. Good. Bill Maher goes, we got the Democrats out here wearing Queers for Palestine t-shirts.
T-shirts. And masks 2 years after the pandemic ended. And you can't define woman, I mean person who menstruates. You're the teachers union education party, and you've turned schools and colleges into a joke.
The schools are a joke.
Just lost a crazy contest to an actual crazy person.
Maybe you're not a numbers learner. Maybe a visual demonstration of where you're here. Let me meet you where you live.
John is pissed at the Democrats, as he should be.
Here we go. This is 48% approval. This is them. This is you.
Yeah, that literally, he's doing the Chuck Schumer right now.
This is you. 27%. This is them. Oh, I see. They're much higher. Yes, they're much higher. And if you keep this up, you'll be wearing these on your dick. Do you understand? Playing check.
You love to see it. But if you're trying to understand why there is a shift in this nation, here's Charlie Kirk talking about Gen Z facts and how the boomers have looted us.
It is a serious issue that is facing Gen Z. You are the first generation in American history to have a future that is materially worse off than your parents. You are the most suicidal generation in history, the most depressed generation in history. It is harder than ever to own a home, harder than ever to be able to work hard and get ahead. Many of you are going to experience yourself in the red, not in the black of your financial situation. What has gone down is a breakdown of the social compact and the social contract, which is that we have decided that the next generation does not deserve the same future that your parents had. And I believe that's one of the big breakdowns as to why so many young people decided to trust Donald Trump with their vote back in November. It was basically, it was a signal, it was a cry for help, it was a distress signal of a generation that owned nothing and is not happy and understands that if you do not have a meaningful opportunity to do the very basic things, get married, have children, start a family, own a home, and instead you have to go move to the big cities like Indianapolis or Chicago, rent for the rest of your life, and maybe get married, maybe have kids, maybe not, and you kind of continue on this cycle of misery. Meanwhile, your parents are like, oh yeah, it was super easy for us to buy a home in Hinsdale in the 1970s or 80s. You're like, well, I don't know if you're ever going to be able to do that under the current economic established order. So what you are seeing is hopefully a rebalancing of that. Young people overwhelmingly voted for that in an amazing way back in November, because regardless of your political affiliation, the next generation, I believe, doesn't just deserve better, but it's generational theft. It's intergenerational thievery to steal from young people just so that the older generation can have, a nice decade. And we saw this explicitly during the lockdowns. The lockdowns, in my opinion, was one of the greatest mistakes in modern American history.
It was an awful decision to do what they did. I went from having 2 jobs on Sunday to 0 jobs on Monday. I was working full-time and on the weekend at a bar. Unemployed on Monday. Just like, what have you done? Why did you do this?
One of the greatest public policy mistakes. We never should have locked down our schools. We never should have canceled prom, graduation. One of the greatest mistakes ever. And the argument that was made was that, well, we're going to make you, the kids, suffer because you might infect grandma. This is a moral disaster. It is a serious issue that is facing Gen Z.
Yeah, it's a shame. We need to have some affordable housing. But hey, you know what?
They're not.
If there's 30 million illegal aliens who aren't competing for housing, that should lower the value of housing, right? That should lower the price so more people could enter the market. I guess if you hold a lot of your wealth in real estate, that may or may not be good. But I mean, you've had plenty of gains in real estate because of it. But if there's 30 million less people, hey, guess what? It might be easier to, but just to have a piece of the pie, a piece of the American dream, it's gotten harder and harder. And I don't know how we get out of this. The way we get out is we have to address some really hard truths. And you don't go after Trump and Elon for addressing the hard truths. They didn't create these problems. Now, you could say Trump created some of them by spending too much in his 4-year term. But you also have to acknowledge that COVID craziness was at the end of that term. And it really wrecked that whole last year of spending. And there's probably $1 trillion or a few that you could attribute to Trump for sure. But 36 trillion, this has just been, if you were this upside down, your credit card company would have cut up your account a long time ago and sent you for collections. And so we have to get out of this debt spiral. It's what the Tea Party was all about. They weren't yelling at Obama because he was a Democrat. They weren't yelling at him because he was half white. They were yelling at him because it's like, we're taxed enough already. Stop. And what did they do? Look at the U.S. aid graft. Trillions here, there, and everywhere. Being rerouted to someone else, brought back as a bribe or money laundering or a gift or a contribution or to keep your paid mobs on payroll. We're broke. We can't be doing this stuff. Regardless of if it was Obama or Bush that put the plan together. It doesn't matter. We got to get our fiscal house in order. Anyway. Yeah, and yet Fauci walks. Hello, Mike. He says, hook up just one broadband internet. Yeah. One person gets broadband from $42 billion internet program. Oh, Kamala headed that up? I like Kamala. COUP. Because they did stage a coup to overthrow Joe Biden. just like they did against Bernie Sanders with Hillary Clinton in 2016. Remember the Seth Rich story? Seth Rich was a Bernie fan, and he was not happy with what happened, and he was removed on the street. Feels like a hit. Always has. Right? Yeah. How are these people not in handcuffs? Anyway, let's listen to this CNN back and forth here. Scott Jennings again, talking about the illegal alien invasion to permanently change the demographic of the United States. I didn't realize it was this big of an issue, but guess what? It is. During Trump's first term, I'm like, why is he so obsessed over this? I don't know that it is. Is it really that big of a deal? Oh my God, it is that big of a deal. And so this girl, she's like, oh, it is no big deal. Scott disagrees.
Just going after criminals.
She says they're not just going after criminals. Well, I think we need to define our terms because you're incorrect.
Well, they're going after people who are in the country illegally, right?
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying the criminals.
Doesn't that make you a criminal?
No, it doesn't.
They're coming across the border illegally?
Coming into the country illegally is a civil offense. It's not a criminal offense.
Okay, if you come into the country illegally, here's the message. We're going to find you and send you back. I mean, I'm sorry, that's the way it is. And I think the government should pull all the levers at its disposal to find people and pull this off. It's what the American people asked Donald Trump to do. Yes, they should be deporting violent people. Yes, they should be deporting people who committed violent acts before they came here. But at some juncture, if you're going to allow any illegal immigration at all, the message then goes out. Just get here. It'll probably work out for you. That was the last administration. This is a different one.
They're not just going after criminals.
Yeah. It's time to recalibrate America. Yeah, they are criminals for being here illegally. Rudy Giuliani shared this. Do you see this image? Let me go full screen. You get the gist. I don't need to go full screen. Yeah, not much changes if I'm full screen. Okay, we'll do it that way. On the top is the year 2000. All the stuff in blue, the U.S. as the larger trading partner. You know, that's like everywhere, except you got China rocking into like Middle East stuff, a little down here, and several places in Africa. Now look at China. China has dominated everywhere. You can see them launching from here, much like how they launched COVID on the world. Remember that? When they would ban you for talking about China launching COVID on the world with their lab release. Remember, if you discussed the lab release, you weren't allowed to talk and your content was shut down. Remember that? I'm old enough to remember that. And that's what I'll say for countervailing views on health and elections. Go to cdc.gov, who.int, and visit cisa.gov/rumor control. Please and thank you. Bella's Chance checking in from the Cape. What's up, Bella's Chance? Illegal aliens having adequate funds to put down a down payment on a house doesn't make sense to me. David's saying that's evil. It is evil. But yeah, look at the domination here. I will full screen it. In 24 years, China's become the dominant trade partner. You literally see them eating the world. Enough. This is the bonus they get for unleashing COVID on us? Hell no. Nope. Yeah, cisa.gov/rumor control might tell you that the lab, you don't call it a lab leak theory either. It's a lab release. You start from the assumption that it was intentional to have the greatest wealth transfer in the history of recorded history, in the history of recorded humankind or recent modern human history. I like when I say things wrong and I'm like, all right, I gotta put I gotta play like a game of Yahtzee. You just put my words together and with the dice and just toss them out on the table and recalibrate, rearrange them. But yeah, we've lost the trade war. And this is Trump putting it back together. So like, let him work, let him cook. We elected him to cook. It's okay if you have a bad week in the stock market. It's totally fine. By the way, let's check in on the stock market. Where are we at? Refresh, refresh. Holy shit. We refreshed. Whoa. Remember when I said that I don't give investment advice because that's what everybody says you're supposed to say? What did I tell you? I said, we've gone down quite a bit. I don't fully understand why. I get that there's some uncertainty. And yes, as of this particular second, the Dow being at 40 is still short of this roughly 41 here. But look at this spike from 37.8 to 40 right there. Up 1,900, 5% today. Now, who knows? Look, it's going up. It's coming back down. Who knows? Guys, relax. This is a necessary trade revision that we're going through. It's necessary. So let's just roll with it. Look at that map on the screen. Look at the map. That is why we're going through this.
And you know what?
I saw this. I'm still trying to understand what the hell I'm watching here. Love Tainted Glove shared this.
What else, Jim? I just want to say this to our Christian friends, you know, just to call it as it is and say it straight out, you know.
Call it as it is to you, or just everybody sees this.
You guys are worshiping one Jew. That's a mistake. You should be worshiping every single one of us, because we all die for your sins every single day. And that's exactly what's going on here. Yeah. We're all God's firstborn, and we're dying for your sins right now because the Jewish people in the land of Israel are the bulwark against the orcs. And you know what else, Jim?
What an odd thing to say. I don't even know what to say about that. Other than maybe playing a second time?
I just want to say this to our Christian friends, you know, just to call it as it is and say it straight out, you know. You guys are worshiping one Jew. That's a mistake. You should be worshiping every single one of us, because we all die for your sins every single day. And that's exactly what's going on here. Yeah. We're all God's firstborn, and we're dying for your sins right now because the Jewish people in the land of Israel are the bulwark against the orcs. And you know what else, Jim?
I don't know. Just kind of left the thought here. So they hate us and expect to be worshipped as gods? No thanks. I'm open to interpretation on whatever the hell this is I'm watching. What an odd thing to say. Speaking of odd things to say, you ever hear this conversation with people? Doing some man on the street here, asking can black people be racist? I mean, the answer is yes, because anybody can be. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. What's that? Oh, the Department of Education hasn't been teaching that for 40 years? Oh, well, hold on. There's a good reason why we've pulled funding from the Department of Education to shut it down, because they've been pushing brainwashed. Okay, right. Marxist, divisive, racist, incorrect dogma to, what was that, to brainwash and mentally abuse the citizens of the United States into guilt and shame so that they could be manipulated to going along with your deep state Democrat New World Order policies. Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Sorry, I just got that note there. But here's the conversation. Can black people be racist?
Black people be racist.
I'm racist, yeah.
Against who?
White people. I don't like y'all.
White people. I don't like y'all.
All the shit we've been through, we can't be racist.
She says she can't be racist. Yes, she can.
Why can't black people be racist?
Just cause all the shit we've been through.
Why do you?
Because all the shit we've been through. Huh?
You think some black people think that they can't be racist? Because they're racist. Because they're racist.
Because they're racist. Yeah, buddy.
Because they're ignorant. Black people can be racist just like white people.
What's the solution to racism? We talk about it more or less.
I love, bro, Bob Marley. Talk about it less, man, and just love each other, bro.
Okay. Love each other, bro. I'm here for it. Love each other, bro. It's a very nice message. All right, let's go ahead and shift over here to our X feed, and we'll give you the last part of our program today, the TNAM AM Show, a division of the Agree to Disagree show here on the New American Media. David, he's like, what the F? Go ahead and mock God. Yeah, you're worshiping one Jew. You should worship all Jews. Huh? Aren't y'all the ones that killed him, by the way? What? Why is Jerusalem not a Christian land? I got a lot of questions about this chosen land and chosen people and wearing the hat and kissing the wall and bowing down to Epstein and Mossad. And what the hell is going on, and how long has this been going on? And do the Palestinians have a case to say, man, you guys put this government, you carved out a nation over here, and dropped it in 1947, and nobody wants it here, and we're never going to let it be here, so you might as well just go to Greenland, pick somewhere in North Dakota, and can find an equivalent amount of property. Adam Carolla has a whole chapter in his book about moving them to northern Mexico, something like that. Yeah, I don't know, David, but saying that we should worship all Jews, like, that's a wild statement. So here, it is absolutely wild. I don't know what to make of it. Mocking God. I mean, is there any other way to look at whatever that just was? He said they're battling orcs every day. Okay. Hey, by the way, in bourbon news, George T. Stagg and Van Winkle Rye was being served at the Masters Champions Dinner in honor of Scotty Scheffler from Louisville, Kentucky. How cool is that? I say that's super cool. But take a look at this flooding. Let me go side by side. Yeah. This is the flooding that's going on. Hang on, let me pin this. It's too far away. I keep losing where I'm changing it from. This is this dude's mom's house in Tennessee. This is how bad the flooding is. I don't know if you can see this. It is bad, bad, bad. This guy is making a point that we should be investigating the companies that manipulate our weather. I agree. Immediately, right now, I want answers. This is Frankfort, Kentucky. Look at this. All of Buffalo Trace flooded. One of the best bourbon tours on earth. I've been there countless times. Got a bottle of Blanton's there recently. There's the thing called Light Post. They're all flooded after that. I wonder how many barrels of bourbon they're going to have to do. Because they're tight, but could water get into them? I know Jefferson's Ocean goes out on boat and allegedly soaks up into the sea air, and it changes the dynamics of the bourbon. You know, the ocean air, the sea air. Buffalo Trace Distillery completely underwater yesterday. Frankfort, Kentucky. About an hour and a half where I'm at. Yeah, I was sleeping in the basement a couple days ago. Tornado watches, warnings. I wish they would find a new way to do that. I don't like being a watch and a warning. And they're like, no, it's like a taco. You can watch a taco, or you'd have a warning about a taco because of the ingredients. I'm like, that still doesn't make sense to me. No, you get it. It's like a taco. No, I don't get it. So yeah, will there be treason charges for the illegal alien Social Security fraud? Letting millions and millions and millions of people jump into this country and sign up for Social Security and the benefits that they can then access with that skeleton key to jump onto databases and systems. And we're being told from members of our government right now that it's being proven that several of these illegal aliens have been voting. Non-citizens have been poisoning our elections. You don't get a vote if you're not a shareholder. Yeah, once again, this is Buffalo Trace. Due to severe flooding, Buffalo Trace in Frankfurt closed to visitors and staff through at least April 10th. Look at that. Yeah, I've walked these campuses. Oh, boy. Look at that. Wild stuff. So prayers for everybody going through this. And, you know, it's like I said, I was at the river yesterday and it was blocked off. They had the levees sealed shut. I wonder if I can find you a picture. Let me explore. Louisville levee doors closed. Flood. I don't know if it's levee. Yeah, Louisville's underwater. Okay, here we go. For the first time since 2018. Am I sharing this tab now? Yes, let me side by side. There we go. Take a look at this closing here. For the first time since 2018, the flood walls under the 2nd Street Bridge in Louisville are closed. Look at that. Locking them up. First time in 7 years, and I was right there at that. It was wild. Oh, Thunder over Louisville's canceled? Oh, that stinks. Captain's quarters is under 13 inches or 13 feet of water. Yeah, captain's quarters. Oh, here's another angle. They've built these big flood barriers with the rest of it. It'll be like a last resort. Barrier. When the Ohio River rises, you can see the bridge in the background there. It's pretty good design, but I would say on the other side, you need to have some drains that are pumping into the, like, just soak up as much water and vacate it. Send it on a direct. We're going to get this as far away as possible to drain the levels on the inside. I don't understand exactly what type of, I called them levee. I'll do flood walls. See if I get a little bit more on that. Holding strong. There's the flood wall. What is this? It doesn't look like a real functional flood wall. What am I looking at? Aerial view of the worst flooding we've seen near Louisville Water Tower in 28 years. Good time to be a drone operator as long as you have the right battery. As the flood walls go up in downtown Louisville, so do the Ohio River waters, leaving some parts of the city already submerged. So yeah, be careful, people. Be careful, everyone. All right, just wanted to show you some of that. Let's go back and back. Where am I going to? Profile. Where's my page? Big. Okay. I don't know if there's going to be a whiskey shortage. So I have questions. Do you have to throw away barrels of bourbon that are on the ground floor? Or is the pressure inside enough to keep the water from the outside from contaminating them? I would suspect you got to throw those out, but they go up and up and up. So the layers of bourbon that are above that first or second floor that are untouched should be fine, I would imagine. But the ones underneath, I really do have questions. Now, I wonder if they're going to try a new method or a new way to build facilities right there close to the river that are going to anticipate that, or a way to go, oh shit, the rain level's really increasing, hit the button and let's start taking all these, let's automate it and get them out and get them up to another place. Like you leave room open for a reserve. I don't know. But these are always good opportunities to think of new ideas. And I think that's like Rahm Emanuel, never waste an opportunity to take advantage of a crisis. So that might be the case, but I think it's also a time to innovate. It's a time to engineer, and it's exciting times as long as you have smart people working on things. If you don't have smart people working on things, then none of this shit really matters, I suppose. But I do like the opportunities that are presented here. All right. So those are the floods. Let's investigate companies that manipulate our weather. I agree. I agree completely. I have got a bird. I'm watching this bird now. Oh, it is not happy with me. It has been trying to build a nest on my security camera for 2 weeks. I'm watching it right now. I get the alerts with the motions. So I've had to wrap it with tinfoil. And that I keep removing all of the nest that it's building. And it keeps grabbing new things and building the nest up there again. So now I put tinfoil. And then an hour or two ago, I went out and I found that it was on the other side of my driveway. Like maybe the bird picked it up and moved it. This thing is, it will not leave this space alone. I'll have to go check in a moment here. Anyway, prayers for everybody impacted by the flooding here. Once again, this is Trump saying this is a great time to move your company to the United States. Companies like Apple and so many others. Record numbers, zero tariffs, almost immediate electrical energy hookups and approvals. No environmental delays. Don't wait. Do it now. He's such a carnival barker. I love it. Jason said this. He goes, I work in the bicycle industry, and the impact tariffs are having on my business are profound. He says, the same bike that people were paying $4,000 for during the pandemic is on sale this month for $1,300. The same bike that people were paying $34.95 for during the pandemic is on sale this month for $19.99. Bikes built and manufactured in the United States are selling out. Bikes manufactured overseas are reducing their prices to stay competitive with U.S. manufacturers. Tariffs are definitely impacting my industry, and it's been absolutely amazing for my business. Thank you, President. And then Jason responds back, has this thing got 4.8 million reach, 18,000 retweets, 97,000 hearts? He says, this post wasn't supposed to reach millions. This was supposed to be something for the 10 people who always like my posts. Yeah. Shout out to the real ones. I posted my opinion based on my observations and experience. For everyone calling me a liar or saying the price reduction is from some other factor, I have the proof to support my observations, which I commented out several times. I had no way of knowing this would go viral, and I have no reason to lie. I think the fact that this post did go viral says a lot. The American people are looking for success stories from small businesses across the nation during our shift to an America First agenda. Don't hate me because I've got one. All right, that's good. You do like to see it because there are multiple sides to this stuff. Nests don't last long. Let the bird be and you'll be the chosen one. Oh, come on. Can Cincinnati get totally washed out? I mean, I've looked, and the whole Bengals facility underwater. Like, look up here. Let me look up Cincinnati flood. I'll do that for you. Let me check it out here. $60.5 of moving floodwaters in downtown Cincinnati over into Covington, Kentucky is insane. Yeah, that's on the other side of the bridge. So much power and plenty of damage around areas into Indiana. So there's the stadium. There's where the Bengals play. Look at this river. I mean, it is chugging along. Flood, 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 flood. That's what, their outdoor practice facility. There's the Bengals stadium right here. That's the, what's that called? Paycor or something? Yeah, Paycor Stadium. I mean, the water is almost up to the bridge, for reference. Yeah, I mean, we have to be careful where we're building. We really need to be careful where we're building. This is just a still shot. Cincinnati flooding. Oh, geez. Jumping out of cars. Yeah, right there at the stadium. That is their outdoor facility that's flooded. All these homes. Oh, the Reds. Look at that. Do they have that watertight? Is that door something like they have on the Ohio River where you can seal off the stadium so it doesn't accept all that water? That would be good design, being on the water like that. I'm a big Ellie De La Cruz fan, by the way, on the Reds. Great player. Look at that. Holly, where do you live again? I know you're a Bengals fan, but do you live in Cincinnati, or just outside of it? Holly checking in. She's our resident Cincinnati expert. The ballpark and stadium in Cincinnati have good floodgates. Oh, but the parking garage is flooded. Now, I may or may not have flooded a Cincinnati parking garage. During the last game of the year where the Browns went to Cincinnati to play the Bengals, I may or may not have had to contribute to that deposit of liquid in the Cincinnati parking garage at the Bengals facility. Hey, man, I'm sorry. When you got to go, you got to go. Okay, parking garage flooded. Frankie, what's up, Frankie? Saying water goes underground and we're honeycombed with caves. All right. Yes, there's truth there. And they also talk about oil. Oh, it's from dinosaur bones. Huh? Yeah, it's, from fossils. They're fossil fuels. Huh? Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? I don't know. Fossil juice. I don't know. There's the abiotic oil theory, talking about honeycombed underground caves and water. Yeah. Holly says they keep saying below flood stage by Friday. I hope so. I have a parking pass for Saturday. Yeah, bring your kayak, Holly. Bring your kayak to go see Ellie De La Cruz play. You know what? You could have your kayak out there, like trying to catch an Ellie De La Cruz home run ball, like in San Francisco. Out there in the kayak, trying to catch a Barry Bonds. It's into the bay. Yeah, call him up. Find out, Holly. Can you bring your kayak to your parking spot? Can you tie it off onto a buoy? What do you mean? Is the water redeemable after? Once it's gone, it's gone. Like, can you reclaim it? Can you use it somewhere? Do you mean? I don't know. Oh, you're North Canton. Oh, near Shawshank Redemption. That has come up so often for me in the past week or two. I know that's Maslin, or no, Mansfield, but North Canton's not too far. Yes, Kenneth, thank you. Holly talked about the flooding garages at the Cincinnati Bengals facility, or the, Bengals Reds facility. On that day, someone could have said European, and I would have raised my hand. Yeah, look, I love Ellie De La Cruz. I'm such a big fan. I've said it before, but I went in, man. I decided to invest in Ellie De La Cruz. I went out and said, "What's this cat's like #1 rookie? Like, and that's hard to say. There kind of is no such thing. There's so many one of ones and jerseys and signatures, autos, graded autos. You're like, I don't know. I'm like, let me see. What do you have in an Ellie De La Cruz? Let me take a look. I saw that cat steal second, third, and home in a game. I watched him throw from third base or, into the hole all the way across. One of the fastest throws I've ever seen. I've watched him hit home runs, and his average has gotten way better. I hope how's Ellie doing this season, by the way? I don't know his stats. But his hitting really improved last year from his first year. The average improved a lot, which is good because it needed to. It wasn't what it needed to be. But yeah, Ellie will be worth it. Okay, let me switch so everybody can find us on Instagram and all those places. There you go. I'll put that at the bottom of the screen. Maybe I'll take that off. If I take it off, then you can see my name. If I go to design, I could click on this and you could see the New American Media there. Maybe I'll do that. Okay, I'll do that. I mean, look, it does become wastewater. And there's so many chemicals that end up, in Los Angeles, there were always a lot of accidents that happened when the rains come through. Here's some more drone footage. Yeah, look at that. That's the gate right there. Just down to the left of the Reds logo. Yeah, that better be watertight. I mean, look, there was not much more room for that to raise. It stopped raining here like 2 days ago, so I'm assuming this is crested. This isn't continuing to raise, but it's still collecting so much from so many other places that flooded out. It's still continuing at the moment. But look, it's just a reminder. You got to be ready for fires, riots, floods, tornadoes. Go down the list. You got to put a little energy into preparing yourself. Have some long-term food storage. You got to take care of the things that you got to take care of, people. All right. Anyway. Yeah, underwater floods with cars. Because when these flood, it takes all of the chemicals that are in the cars and it dumps it into the water. It's not just water. It's not just muddy water. It's picking up chemicals like crazy. And in a place like Los Angeles, you had all the smog, all the soot, all the debris, and it just collects. It just sits there collecting week after week, month after month before you have really strong rains. But when you do, you can almost see like a slick, oily substance all over the roads because it's activated. The rain has activated all of the dust that sat there, and it kicks it up, and all those chemicals are now, instead of being dormant and attached to asphalt, it kind of loosens them up and it start moving all around. So, that was one of the big problems in Western North Carolina when we went and did Hurricane Helene, Help on the Way. If you haven't watched our documentary, it's on Rumble and YouTube. Please watch it. Please share it. Please leave a comment on it. But yeah, we looked at all these houses that had been flooded, and they were flooded for, a day. I don't know how long until the waters receded. But it's like those houses, they're not just full of water and mold, and you got to get the drywall out and dry the place professionally. They're also completely covered in chemicals. Yeah, look, there's Holly. There's Holly making her way to the Reds
Definitely
game.
hard. I just keep telling myself, at least I got my kids out.
Now, where's my parking spot?
The house can be fixed. It'll definitely be rough. The first
I'm
definitely
here
hard.
to see the Reds. Where's
I
my
just keep telling
parking
myself,
spot?
at least I
there
got
it
my
is.
kids out.
Not need to worry about those things. She
Let's
took
go
us
see
to
the
her
Reds.
home to see what she is facing.
So we lost a lot of things. We had stuff that was new in boxes that's floating around. It's just very devastating and just really was heartbreaking to walk into our home and see so much of our belongings just floating everywhere.
It's messed up. And you know what's even more messed up? Kamala Harris, Barack Hussein Obama and his people, Joe Biden and his team, because Joe Biden was essentially a puppet term of Barack Obama, which is why I'm saying it. You know what the Democrats did, what the deep state did? They said, oh, we have supplies, Federal Emergency Management Agency. Oh, we have a reserve fund for taking care of Americans that wake up one day and this is their life, to help get them back on their feet. You know what we should do? We should give these to illegal alien gang members from Guatemala who hate us and are ravaging our citizens in the streets, who are abusing our people, robbing us blind. Yeah, we should divert our money for emergency management assistance to Americans and give it to illegal aliens. That's what the Democrats are. That's what they've been doing. David's talking about like people can't understand what's happening. Just look up to the skies. You did. Let me rewind it. I did hear the train too, but I didn't think about like, how is the train go? Well, the train is probably on some stilts, I would imagine.
Very devastating and just really was heartbreaking to walk into our home and see so much of our belongings just floating everywhere.
And with flood insurance for people on the river costing what it does, Trinity and her neighbor John Rogers were not able to afford that luxury.
There's about, I guess, a little over a foot on the first floor.
Have you lost a lot of things?
Yeah, I mean...
What a wild camera shot. So they're zoomed in on this guy. There's his ring camera. Is there a bird up on top of here? Watch out. Put some tinfoil. Anyway, why is the camera guy shooting him talking, leaning out the window, and then he's got it on speaker so they can pick up the audio? What a weird way to do this interview. They're acting like this guy's Rapunzel. He already lost his hair. I'm so confused by this. It's interesting.
Pretty much everything that was down there, you know, like appliance-wise. Now we have no refrigerator, deep freezer, stove, all that stuff is gone.
John says he would have had insurance, but he had to stop working due to his recent cancer diagnosis.
They discovered I had leukemia. So no work, can't afford it, you know, you can't afford certain things anymore. So, and then I just had surgery a week ago. And so it's one hit after another.
And in these times, it's good to have friends. A neighbor waded over to...
Hold on. Is this dude wearing a dunce cap? And look at that posture, buddy. Is that him?
It's one hit after another.
Orange, pink.
And in these times, it's good to have friends. A neighbor waded over to refill the propane John is using to run his heaters. Trinity is staying with family, also surrounded by water, but at least the living spaces are dry.
Definitely hurt seeing your home and everything you've worked so hard for just get taken away in the blink of an eye.
And look, I lived in college and there was a place that I lived in that burned down. When you live through a fire or a flood, man, it's brutal. Brutal stuff. Bobby Kennedy here is he's I won't play it because YouTube doesn't like you learning about your health. But they say the evidence against fluoride is overwhelming. We know that it causes profound IQ loss and other neurological injuries like ADHD. Bobby Kennedy talking about these things is the head of Health and Human Services. You can't fact check him, MFers. Fluoride is a neurotoxin. It should be removed from our water immediately, says Dr. Simone Gold. And of course, countervailing views, go to cdc.gov, who.int, and cisa.gov/rumor control, because they treat us like we're toddlers. Look at this. Am I full screen? This is even bigger. This is Louisville side. It's almost at the top of this. Yeah, there's all these parks right here on the river. Streets completely flooded out. Was that still Cincinnati? I thought this was Louisville. Whoops, parked in the wrong spot. Yeah, so be ready. All right. Was Ross Perot right or was he not regarding tariffs? Here's Jesse Water.
Remember that giant sucking sound?
We have got to stop sending jobs overseas. To those of you in the audience who are business people, pretty simple. If you're paying $12, $13, $14 an hour for factory workers, and you can move your factory south of the border, pay $1 an hour for labor, have no health care, that's the most expensive single element in making a car, have no environmental controls, no pollution controls, and no retirement, and you don't care about anything but making money, there will be a giant sucking sound going south.
They called Ross Perot crazy, but after 30 years, they call him right. Bubba was wrong. He signed NAFTA, and the giant sucking sound came from the South. And then he signed the China deal, and the giant sucking sound came from the East. There were a lot of sucking sounds in the 90s, and Chuck was fed up.
We are fed up, Mr. President.
Oh, the deep state Democrats.
Chinese should play by the rules once and for all. But how can we stand by as millions of American workers lose their jobs, as thousands of American companies can't compete fairly? No one seeks political advantage. What we seek, rather, is fairness. Fairness in trade.
The party that represented workers, the Democrats, immediately recognized the giant sucking sound was bad for workers, but good for donors. Wall Street got rich off the giant sucking sound, and so did Pelosi, Hillary, Kerry, Gore, all of them.
I'll let you watch the rest of this, but it's, you know, for historical context to kind of figure out who we should have been listening to all along, check out this video. It's a 10-minute clip. Here's Jason Whitlock talking about the ridiculous stuff that you heard from Jasmine Crockett.
I know people that have been in church 50 and 60 years who still act like they don't know the Bible. Either they don't read it or they just lean on the pastor to tell them what it says. The way they live their life, and I'm not even talking about blatant sin. I'm talking about not having the tiniest bit of faith. I see this from people who've been in church all their lives. And it's funny to me that they would allow someone like Jasmine Crockett to stand in the pulpit and be disrespectful to people, our ancestors. They are always talking about the ancestors, but then they disrespect them every chance they get. For her to say, we done picking cotton, you never pick cotton. You've never pick cotton unless it's the thread out of the braids that you have so that you can put that fat wig on your head. You've never picked cotton, and I think it's disrespectful when people who've lived very privileged lives start to act as if they were ever slaves, that they were ever whipped or beaten. It's a joke. And we have
this fascination with the Obama doctrine to push this victim mentality and really a divisive, racist, angry, bitter, vitriolic rage against middle America, conservatives, libertarians, men, white people, Christians. There's select groups that they've just been going after. That is what the Obama doctrine has been all about. Frankly, I'm sick of it. You don't need to act like a victim when people who weren't you did things to people that weren't you. Just have the conversation.
Kids now who refuse to read. There was a time when slaves weren't allowed to read. Now they don't even want to read, but we allow them to say things like, "We done picking cotton." If I wish that Mama Hannah, that's my great-great-grandmother, could rise, who was actually born in slavery, and I hope I got a little bit of her fire. I wish she could rise from the dead and backhand people like Jasmine Crockett, who were trying to ride off of their hard work. It's disrespectful, but these are the same people that act as if they are fighting in the name of the ancestors. You're not when you're disrespecting everything that they actually did and went through for us to be where we are today. She's a joke. Bye, Felicia.
Bye, Felicia. I did just watch Friday for the first time ever. I don't know what this is. A teacher gets knocked out. And a student throws a chair at him over here on the right side. That's attempted murder. What are we even watching? What kind of out of control classroom is this? Flint, Michigan, they say. Very curious to get some more information about that story. Brian Cates has some interesting thoughts always. He says, anybody catch the line at the end of the second page where SCOTUS vacated the TROs, the temporary restraining orders, because the complainants are state detainees being held in Texas and therefore do not have jurisdiction to file for relief in the District of Columbia? This is a direct shot at the stupid nationwide injunction bullshit that's been allowed to go on for far too long. So SCOTUS just said these judges issuing nationwide injunctions don't have jurisdiction to file for relief in the District of Columbia. So keep your eyes peeled on that. Did this just end the lawfare crap? Nothing else is working for the deep state, so they're trying the lawfare with the fraudulent judges that should have stepped aside and recused themselves because of perceived or actual conflict of interest. Cat Turd just making a nice point here with Mr. Bean, Rowan Atkinson, giving you the big old wink. He says, don't we have the technology? I'm sorry, he says, we don't have the technology to cure cancer, but we have the technology to clone a dire wolf from 10,000 years ago? Okay. Sure. Yes, Kenneth. Can he finish? Can he finish? Can I finish? I loved Ross Perot back in the day, and I love Dana Carvey doing Ross Perot. I know people like Chuck Schumer and everyone, they do love to lie when it's good for themselves. Jasmine Crockett. Hey, check that out. Frankie Brown bringing it back around, saying that those Flint, Michigan kids are a result of the bad water. I couldn't imagine it helping. And by the way, instead of billions of dollars for illegal aliens, how about we fix the Flint, Michigan water supply? You know, maybe a nationwide federal emergency management agency that could jump in for catastrophic, oh my God moments to try to help put people back on their feet so we can become productive and healthy and successful again. Yep, David, just distractions so they can steal. Anyway. AOC, who despises the rich, is flying first class to rant about oligarchy on the taxpayer dime. Fighting the system with one first-class mimosa at a time. Oh, there she is. Lap of luxury.
Senator Bernie Sanders. Events in which she has been railing against the wealthy elite.
Oh, she's got like 7 seats worth of space there.
We are witnessing an oligarchy in America.
I learned the word oligarchy. recently. So I'm going to say oligarchy a bunch. So there she is, just living it up. Oh, there's another hack, Bernie Sanders. Don't buy into their commie crap. Here's another conversation about what happens with trade wars that go against America and Americans. Why do tariffs work? Well, it rebalances the power a little bit.
I worked in a factory. Went to factory in 1989. We made radial passenger tires for cars. I worked there with my dad, 8 of my uncles, and 12 of my cousins. I was a union steward there. That plant now sits in China because you can import small radial passenger tires pretty cheap because of our failed trade policy in this Democrats' opinion. Donald Trump will use that to say that we need to fight China. We need to bring those jobs back to America. Feel a little pain for a little bit, but I'm rejiggering this whole thing to make it work for you. That's what he's betting on against the pain of what people are really going to feel. And this is what will be determined in 18 months, to your point, Abby, is the American people will decide which one of these philosophies actually is true.
That's 100% true. I mean, we'll have
we all agree. We all agree.
Exactly right. Let's just hope that
the Mexican redneck brought everybody together. I worked in a
The Mexican redneck brought everybody together. I think that was Scott Jennings that said that. Does he call himself a Mexican redneck? Chuck Roca, podcast co-host of the Latino Vote, he called himself a Mexican redneck, maybe? Funny. I've been doing a stand-up comedy bit. Kenneth has actually received it. You know, maybe there's a way I could, I don't know. And I might be performing some stand-up comedy again soon. I might have a bit about fencing. You know, that story we covered a couple days ago about the woman that was in a woman's fencing contest and they paired her up with a man and she took her mask off and took a knee and said, I'm not doing that. I'm not fighting against a man. This is a woman's sport. I might be performing very soon and covering that. Why did I just bring that up? Because I was just kind of thinking about ways that I could share my stand-up comedy with you people, with the regulars. You get me acting every day. You get me performing or just good. You know, it's all improv. I'm going through these stories. I gather these stories throughout the entire day, and then I drop them off with you once a day. But like during it, I try to come up with ideas off the top of my head and jokes and conversation and fun. But yeah, I do plan things out, and I was just kind of thinking, like, is there a good way that I could share my comedy sets with you people, my regulars, my faithful regulars sitting at the bar while we watch the TV and talk about what's going on. Checking in with what's going on. Dow Jones Industrial Average. Share this tab instead. The Dow Jones is up 2,500 points. That's 6.5%. There you go. Just today. So, catch your breath, people. Catch your breath. Is that what ST is talking about? ST here saying, with the change 10 minutes ago to pausing all tariffs except for China, how will our government and global military protection expectations be funded? Well, how were they funded before? Start with that. Because we're renegotiating everything. We're in the middle of that. That's for damn sure. ST says that's not what we were told. We were told the tariffs would be implemented to create an external revenue service, which would bring in $600 billion per year, and 90% of taxpayers would no longer pay taxes. Well, by the way, I mean, he's been in office for 2 months now, 3 months. There's a lot of calibration that's occurring. There's a lot of renegotiating. We read the message from President Trump yesterday calling these tariff conversations a one-stop shop to renegotiate everything important. And so, yeah, we're getting the ball rolling, and then we're taking our foot off the gas. But we're saying, hey, we'll race you. We'll race you. Did you feel that weirdness for a couple days? Do you want to feel that for a few weeks or a few months or a few years or a few decades? Don't mess around, buddy. Don't be the last one to come to the negotiating table and sort this stuff out. The president wants to get everyone else to drop their tariffs on the United States, as he should. It's just harmful against our companies succeeding in the global marketplace, while slave labor, literal slave labor. Oh, you know, I vote Democrat because I am anti-racism. You know, in fact, I think if the Civil War were happening, I would have fought on the side of the abolitionists. I would have been a Northerner freeing all of those awful, freeing those people who were in those awful, awful conditions. However, I would like my product to be a lot cheaper, so I would like to purchase from slaves. Huh? Well, you have to understand, you can't have an iPhone cost $3,000. That's just reckless. And Trump is the chaos candidate. Trump is the chaos president. Everything about Trump is checks notes. What do they want me to say this week on MSNBC and CNN? What did they keep putting into the talking points memo? Chaos. Oh, okay, chaos. Donald Trump is just a chaos president. And we need stability in those markets. I demand being able to purchase my items made by slave labor at the cheapest possible price. If you're supporting slave labor, you're supporting slavery. And if you're hollowing out the American middle class for the privilege of doing that, now all these people don't have jobs. And they're on government doles collecting free money. And then once you lose your autonomy, then you're forever a pawn that can be played by the deep state in color revolutions to overthrow the United States, to issue in some Marxist, Leninist, communist, Stalinist, socialist, I don't know, communist, Marxist, socialist, whatever ism. Turn America into a hellhole. You want to do that? Well, that's what we're in the middle of, isn't it? So yeah, I would buckle up and hang on for the ride, because things this grand, like the External Revenue Service and getting rid of the IRS, it might take a minute. It's had its claws entrenched like a demon into the United States. You had the ADL, the Internal Revenue Service, the income tax, Creature from Jekyll Island, all 1913. And those claws got sunk into the United States, and we've had a leech. A leech has been bleeding us dry. Monetizing, printing, money press, money printer, go brrr. Go brrr. When you quantitize, when you print trillions of dollars, it devalues the money that's currently there. Remember earlier when I talked about if you got rid of 30 million illegal alien invaders, suddenly the housing market would adjust, making many homes more affordable, because a lot of those homes would then be vacant, which would theoretically flood the marketplace, pardon the pun, flood the marketplace with more affordable housing. So Gen Z could maybe get their skin in the game, get into the movement of finding some upward financial mobility through real estate. Yeah, you flood the market with dollars. Since 1913, we've lost like 98% of the purchase power of the dollar. We used to have a husband and wife. Husband could go work a normal job and purchase a very nice home in a very nice neighborhood, 2 very nice cars, a nice puppy, picket fence, 2.5 kids, garage, basement, upstairs, downstairs, big backyard, clothing, groceries. The wife could stay home and raise her kids, like humans have always done. I don't know where we got off with this idea. Yeah, it's a great idea. Why don't you turn over your loin, the fruit of your loins, the children that you created, to common sense, normal people? Hey, it'd be a shame if you didn't give those kids to us to try to push radical trans ideology on them, to confuse them about their gender and their sex, to get them to hate you, to hate this country, and to start pushing wild Marxist, Leninist ideas. We'd like to brainwash your children against you, to hate you. Sign them up. Nah, I'm good. But back to the tariffs. Yeah, they've been at it since 1913, so that's 112 years. It might take more than 2 months to get it sorted out. I think there's short-term plans, medium-range plans, and long-term plans. And I'm sorry, if you're asking me to give a shit that there's a little bit of chaos right now, what would scare me more is more of the status quo. 4 million people illegally in our country getting social security numbers, allegedly voting in our elections, stealing our democracy. These dirty deep state Democrats stealing our republic, our constitutional republic. We're not a democracy. A democracy is 2 wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner. We're a constitutional republic, and the dirty deep state Democrats, the divisive, destructive, dirty deep state Democrats, are trying to steal that from us. So yeah, they've had 112 years to rob us blind like leeches, just sucking our blood nonstop. You can't suck it too much, the blood. I went to a doctor the other day, and all he did was take my blood. Do not go see Dr. Acula. Dr. Acula. But anyway, yeah, 112 years, give him more than, he hasn't even had 12 months. It's like he's had 12 minutes. 12 weeks, maybe? It's been 112 years, maybe give him more than 12 weeks. ST saying, so if that's not what they're for, what benefit will I, as a middle-class married dad to 2 12-year-old kids, get as a result? What was it that Nancy Pelosi said? I believe Nancy Pelosi said, I can't wait to pass it to find out what's in it. Can't wait to find out what Trump does to see how much you're going to love it. Right? Remember Nancy Pelosi with Obamacare? Oh, yeah, there's going to be a big result by rebalancing these trade imbalances. You saw all of the production issues that the United States had during the coronavirus shutdown. We're not producing all the shit that we need to produce in our country, and we need to produce the stuff that we need to produce in our country. We got to make it cost prohibitive for people to use their slave labor to dump cheap products in our country to run our companies out of business. Screw that. It's not cool. And so, yeah, part of the plan is like, hey, you want to avoid the tariffs? If you're a foreign car company, I don't know, Honda, Toyota, pick, I don't know. But you've seen a lot of these companies opening up manufacturing in the United States. Because if they import their cheap shit from their cheap country on cheap slave labor, they're going to get hit with massive tariffs. So the people living in those communities where those factories are, they get to go to work at a decent job with decent salary and decent benefits. And that helps our middle class. So someone like you, a middle class married dad to 2 12-year-old kids, are they twins? Question, ST, are your kids twins? And did you hear that awful story of the twin getting stabbed in the heart while the other twin held him and tried to compress at the track meet? That story bugs me. But yeah, I think this is all meant to help American middle class. I really do. It feels obvious to me, but maybe you're coming from a different perspective. Kenneth, what's that? You can find me on Fiverr. But no one should. I think that's what you're going at there. That's kind of funny. David saying, ST, you will probably get nothing from it, just like most of us. I don't know, David. I'm not so negative on this. Kenneth's just a slave to the fashion. Yeah, maybe we should just have a new thing called fearism. Communism, Marxism, fearism. That's what the media peddles. That is like their currency. Yeah, the Dollar Tree. I mean, good luck. What can you even buy for under $1 now? I'd like some deflation, please. I'd like the purchase power of our currency to go up. I'd like to find a way to get some currency that is massively desirable. Maybe create an American cryptocurrency that citizens get and something that we can use. Something that'll go up in value, something that can pay things off. I don't know. There's big ideas here. And I want to try some of these big ideas. David says they've had years to prepare for Trump's next term in office. All right, that is true. But they didn't think, they thought they were going to get him arrested with lawfare. They thought, fine, we can't get him with lawfare. Let's just explode him. They missed. Oh my God, by a millimeter, they missed. They didn't think they'd end up in this spot. They thought Trump would be gone by now. So once again, calling out a prayer out there for all the angels and entities who are watching over humanity. Please keep a close, protective umbrella of defense, actually a reflective spell to deliver 10 times the punishment on anyone attempting to cause harm to President Trump or his team, this administration, and help steer them with better conversations into better policies to make this country better off than it was. Amen. How are we going to deprogram these people? Man, I don't know. That's $1 million question. I really want. I want Bobby Kennedy to work with HHS to work with Trump derangement syndrome people. And you got to get the indoctrination out of the schools. These kids are growing up angry because they're being taught angry by angry people, by activists, by wackadoos. Raise your hand if you have a kid in a school system. This goes out to who has kids out there? Kenneth, I don't know if you have kids. David, I don't know if you have kids. No, you go pick up the kids. But are those your kids, or I thought you said your grandkids one day. So you do have. ST, you have 2 12-year-olds. Raise your hand. Holly, you have kids. Raise your hand if you have had either conversations with your child or firsthand experience at parent-teacher conferences or interacting with teachers or administrators who are more like indoctrinators with 1,000 different flags on the wall, but not a single American flag, and communist raised fists on the wall, and pushing racist agendas through the school and making the kids hate themselves and sit down, shut up, deal with your privilege. You don't have an opinion. If you're not pro-globalist, you don't get to talk here. You know, all that shit. Raise your hand if you had problems with your educators. I had problems when I was fostering my neighbor kid. I've talked about it before. I'm not going to get into it today, but you get the point. Anyway, David says he trusts the plan, but something needs to happen quickly now. Nancy arrest we'll see. Nancy Pelosi. Yeah, perhaps. David saying this pyramid debt scam needs to end. Agreed. I know, David. There are people, oh, it's a military operation. Trust the plan. They caught them all. What is taking so long for the indictments of Barack Hussein Obama, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Adam Schiff, Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger? Where are the indictments? That's why I hate that trust the plan crap. I can't stand it. Kenneth with some good vibes saying God's got this, I feel. All right, good. Oh, wow, David, you got 4 boys and 1 girl. All your kids are still swimming. Oh, I get it. 3 younger and 2 older. Yeah, man. So, yeah, that was just a conversation there. ST kind of came in, hitting me with a couple of thoughts, and I gave you a reply. I don't know how genuine those concerns are. It had a bit of a vibe of, you know, the same people that watch our accounts regularly and drop some copy-paste stuff in there to just rabble-rouse, much like these protesters, perhaps. But I treated it as though it was a legitimate question, and I gave it some respect and some consideration. And hopefully some positivity. I think we're moving in the right direction in a lot of ways. This video is purporting to show, from open source intel, frustrated New York City residents begin hurling trash from their buildings. Palestine protest. I wouldn't want this underneath my house. Would you? There's something being shot. I wonder if there's any identifying documents or stuff in this track. Yeah.
Make sure you can get
Oh yeah. People. Anyway, Elon here talking about what our tax system has become. We're allegedly just debt cattle for some blood-sucking leeches. I'm saying
you get taxed on what you own, you get taxed on what you buy, and you get taxed on what you own. And it's like, okay, this is you know, taxes, and you know, and then what does it get spent on? A bunch of the stuff it gets spent on you don't even agree with. So
yeah.
you know that's why we need to reduce the size of government and just spend less money and
reduce the size of government, spend less money.
You know, let the people keep a lot more of their hard-earned money. You know, it's yeah. So
pretty straightforward. That should not be a controversial topic. Bella's chant saying, yes. Where are the indictments? Without them, President Trump, etc., will have all failed, or et al. Will have failed. Dan Bongino came out pleading to us. Just hang on. We're working on what you think we're supposed to be working on. Just give us a second. We can't do it all at once, and we can't tell you what's up right now. Just trust us. It's like, oh, that sounds like trust the plan. I don't want to trust anyone. I just want to see work. I want to see action. You can check out this video, 11 minutes of Alex Jones talking with Tucker Carlson about the dark connection between psychedelics and the supernatural.
These big DMT rituals at sacred sites, because reportedly those are like gates or places where dimension,
like ley lines and portals.
They've been doing sacrifices for thousands of years, so maybe the things hang around there, or it's a
the energies. Have you all had any supernatural experiences? Have you seen any ghosts, met any angels, encountered any shadow people? Or 100 other questions? Like I'm a big coast to coast AM guy. I don't listen regularly like I used to. But yeah. It's a fascinating topic. I'm not going to play the 11 minutes, but check it out. It's on our feed on X at American_media_. Kenneth is saying here, he's got to believe that there will be a 90-day rollout plan and we're near the end. Okay. It does seem like there's been a little bit of ramping up, sorting things out, getting into systems, Doge running a forensic audit, firing people. Like it's going to take a second to look. You don't have your house flooded and you don't get to wave a magic wand and have everything sorted out in a moment's notice. It's going to take a second to figure it out. And that's kind of what it feels like they're doing now. They're sorting through the departments, but I just want to see direction. I want to see action. Yeah, Bella's chance. Sorry, Dan Bongino. Trust time has long passed. What would we say to Dan Bongino? Sorry, Dan. Cutesy time is over. Isn't that his catchphrase? Cutesy time is over. David saying he's seen different things over the years. So yeah, I think when you start entering the realm, you're going to open yourself up to this is a whole other show, a whole other topic. I don't want to go too far into the weeds because I just have a few more stories I want to share with you and get going for the day. But this is one of my favorite topics. And I sincerely believe that the more in tune you are and the more open you are, I mean, there's lots of different ways. There's prayer, there's Christianity, there's tarot, there's divination, there's solstices, there's energies, there's full moons, there's fires and purification. There's rituals galore. There's all sorts of stuff that goes on. Numerology. There's a lot at play. And I think the more you engage with said energies, I think the more things you will encounter and see, for sure. All right, I'm curious where he goes. I'm going to listen to a couple more seconds here, Valid.
Line, they're not sure. But if you go there and take DMT, they're having groups of 20, 30, 40 people who are seeing the same hallucination on it at the same time. They basically say aliens come up the steps of the pyramid, or, and everybody's seeing it at the same time. They're having
Maybe it's not a hallucination.
Maybe they've peeled back the veils and they can see. They say, like Halloween, the veil between the living and dead is the thinnest that it'll ever be. Oh, I love this topic. I want to talk about, I talk about current events. Not everything's politics. I talked about the flood. I talked about sports yesterday. Not everything's political. I try to talk about current events. It comes off as political because, my God, we got to fix this stuff because we are a sinking ship, a flooding city. But yeah, I would love to do shows. And maybe that's what Agree to Disagree will be. I'll book an Alex Jones or a Tucker Carlson or an author. Shit, I should do a deep dive with Mike Barra. He's the Ancient Aliens guy. We do our Strictly Football show. But I love these topics. They're so interesting to me. So yeah, they could all be witnessing something like Project Bluebeam. But if these are insignificant, regular, ordinary people, why would anyone go to the trouble of doing a Project Bluebeam thing to show you a hologram image to make it look like something's happening when there's really nothing to gain by it? Unless at certain sites, they already have the technology set up and they'll play around with anybody. I don't know.
Well, exactly. If this individual was seeing it, it's one thing.
Right.
But then sometimes people in the group even get attacked by these things.
Taking ayahuasca, taking DMT, taking any kind of hallucinogenic drug, which I've done, as a child.
As a child.
But now knowing what I know, I would be very afraid that those drugs open up a portal for something to enter me.
They thin the veil. Exactly. And the Bible says pharmakia leads to conjuring and witchcraft, all in the Old Testament. And it talks about all the other tribes that were sacrificing people. And
pharmakia. So maybe it is the ayahuasca and the hallucinogens, the mushrooms or the acid derivatives licking the toad. And then it leads to human sacrifice. They're being told by demonic entities, hey, go destroy humanity. Yeah, what?
Jehovah says don't do that anymore.
Have some respect for the unknown. I mean, I'm not pretending to understand any of this stuff. And again, I've taken LSD. I've taken LSD. I get it. But I was 15. Now I have a lot of respect for the things I don't understand, and it is a kind of peculiar American attitude that whatever it is we don't know has got to be great.
Exactly.
And there's not true.
Well, exactly. Our optic nerve, they've proven, picks up a lot more in the light spectrum that we see. So we have we have biological blinders so we can focus on the third dimension and not be completely freaked out by all this other stuff that's right near our dimension and kind of like a frequency bleeding in. And so exactly, you roll the dice when you do that. And all the ancients, even if you try to go to Peru or Brazil or wherever, take those drugs, they'll say, this is dangerous, you gotta get ready for weeks, we're gonna guide you through it. And I'm not saying even do it with those
drugs. But not dangerous in a sense that will affect your serotonin levels or hurt your body. I mean, which is possible, I guess, also, or it'll kill you. I'm not even worried about that. I would be much more afraid of being possessed by something from outside me. I know people whose lives have gone in the wrong direction after doing that, or who've had important relationships dissolve, which is always a sign of evil. God brings us together. Wow. Dark forces divide us.
I have that exact same instinctive caution not to do it. I like the frequency my brain's tuned to now. And I've talked to people that do the rituals that are really into it. They say, no, it is true. Some people, get haunted by spirits and demons when they take it, but most people that doesn't happen.
Kind of a big risk.
Well, in high school, I took acid a few times too, and I've taken mushrooms a few times. That's kind of barely, manipulates the space-time fabric. The walls start dripping a little. But yeah, you take DMT or ayahuasca, which is, I guess, a longer breakdown form of it, I mean, reality goes gone.
Well, I remember flipping out on acid 40 years ago, 1984, when I was 15. I remember it very well. I'll never forget it as long as I draw breath. And I was being attacked by howling, leering, grinning cartoon characters jumping right into my face and screaming at me. And wow. I mean, well, I think it's pretty conventional, but I don't know. I mean, I think
I would say that's conventional. Let's maybe 1 out of 100. That's still the bad trip.
Well, it was a bad trip, but I feel like that's a very serious thing.
Anybody out there, have you taken psychedelics and have you had what's been described as a bad trip?
Describe that more. Howling, leering demons.
Oh, yeah. I remember I was in my bedroom. I was home for Thanksgiving vacation from boarding school, and I had taken a couple of hits of acid on an airplane flying from New England to California.
Oh, wow.
Which is obviously not wise, but, I was 15. I don't know. Someone handed me a bunch of acid. Rock, I want acid. And I was totally fine until I got back. And then I went upstairs, and it was the night before Thanksgiving, and I smoked pot with my brother.
Oh, wow.
And it just unleashed this whole thing.
Did you look in the mirror?
Yeah, my brother's face turned into a rat.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah, I remember I was in my bedroom. I was home for Thanksgiving vacation from boarding school, and I had taken a couple of hits of acid on an airplane flying from New England to California.
Oh, wow.
Which is obviously not wise, but, I was 15. I don't know. Someone handed me a bunch of acid. Rock, I want acid. And I was totally fine until I got back. And then I went upstairs, and it was the night before Thanksgiving, and I smoked pot with my brother.
Oh, wow.
And it just unleashed this whole thing.
Did you look in the mirror?
Yeah, my brother's face.
So it was the smoking of the weed that unleashed the thing in combination with the other thing. That's a common story. The things were fine. I don't know if it's acid or mushrooms, but if you smoke, it does something. That's a commonly heard story.
Turned into a rat with like this long, and I was like, wow, I think I'm flipping out. And then I spent like the next 6 hours being attacked by these figures, characters. I don't know what they were, but very, very vivid. Very, very.
Describe them.
I remember looking at a picture in my bedroom, and a dog or something jumped out at me and started screaming at me and leering with like teeth and laughing in my face. And then this one jumped out there, and then all throughout my entire bedroom, these things were jumping out and screaming at me and laughing at me.
This is what I've thought and talked to folks and heard and felt. And everybody knows you're a good person. People that are already kind of worldly and really don't, and are almost to the dark side, are in it. Then it's wonderful, and they're your friends and everything. But if the demons pick up that you've got a good trajectory, they just hate you, and if they think they can't get you, they just want to hurt you.
It was only when I quit doing anything, including Advil, that I got moral clarity, I would say. And so I do think that stuff is a vector for actual evil, for things entering you and controlling your behavior.
And that's what word for word, as you know, the Bible says that. If you take pharmakia, meaning pharmaceuticals, and that is the gateway to hell. It says it opens it up.
Have you always believed that there were forces that you couldn't see that were real?
Like definitely something outside was telling me things. And so by the time I got older, I realized that more. And then once I started tuning into it, it then just became more second nature. And then it was kind of like I was getting the information, I was thinking about where, not even processing it anymore.
It's only the after.
Anyway, I love these conversations. It's some of my favorite stuff. Check it out. That's about half of it. I'm so interesting. It's so interesting to me. Amuse here reporting that Tim Walz falsely accuses Elon Musk of tax evasion, despite the billionaire paying more in taxes than any other person in human history. All right, then. Elon says, welcome to X, the group chat of Earth. That's kind of a funny way to say that. I like it. I think it's a group chat. That feels about right to me. Tim Walz, such a clown. What is this
law?
Report?
It allowed people who are
here. Let me full screen this. What are we? It's not showing me what channel is this. What report is this? Is this ABC, CBS, NBC? Oh, it looks like ABC 7. Okay, here we go.
Highest court has struck down a controversial voting rights law. It allowed people who are not U.S. citizens to cast ballots in New York City's local elections. The Court of Appeals just released its decision ruling the law is unconstitutional. Since 2022, about 800,000 non-citizens have been able to vote for mayor, public advocate, controller, borough president, and city council.
What, you cannot vote in an HOA if you don't own a unit in the HOA. What in the world is going on? There is not a scenario that I could envision where someone who doesn't have skin in the game should get a say in how things are handled. It doesn't work that way. Nothing is supposed to work that way. And frankly, for the life of me, I do not understand why this has been allowed to happen. I mean, I know what they're aiming for. I know they're trying to replace the United States population with non-U.S. citizens. Yeah, President Trump has paused tariffs on most things. Getting that alert coming through. And you see the stock market happy about it. But it's showing you we're not scared to do it. We'll do it again if we have to. You better come to the negotiating table and we better get this squared away. Unless you want to deal with it for round 2. That's how you negotiate. That is the art of the deal. It's not chaos. It's not madness. It's sort of common sense. And it's the common sense that's been lacking in this country for a long time.
Council members.
If there's no voter ID laws in New York and they don't check voter IDs, and these 800,000 people were voting in local elections, what's to say they weren't voting in all elections, including our presidential and congressional elections? Maybe there's a stopgap that I'm not aware of, but I kind of doubt it.
The highest court has struck.
That's exactly how I've viewed that situation. Mike Ben's reporting that Harvard University is seeking $750 million from private markets on Wall Street to offset losing up to $9 billion in free money from taxpayers. Deuces. A hedge fund with a university attached to it. What's this? Yep. Well, that's wild. Joaquin Castro. He says, first things first, the impact of folks not filing their taxes because they're afraid of deportation would be detrimental to our economy. Huh? 2, immigrants pay taxes but do not benefit from the social programs that most taxpayers do. That is false. That's garbage. That is a talking point. Thoroughly debunked, I thought. Oh, do you need to go to cisa.gov/rumor control for that one too? 3, everyone should be concerned about the privacy implications here. This sets the precedent. The federal government can arbitrarily share your personal information with law enforcement, and it's just wrong. He was responding to a Politico article saying that the IRS has agreed to share tax data with immigration authorities. Yeah, that's how this works. Brian Cates says he sounds worried. Now that the fake and non-citizen Social Security numbers are surfacing, he sounds worried. A conservative estimate on how many fake illegal Social Security numbers they're going to find? Around 30 million. It may be as high as 40 million. Democrats may never win another election. This is so on brand for what I've been saying for so many years. I sort of love everything about this. I think I do. Democrats are never going to win another election. If Musk and his Doge team are allowed to continue to cross-reference these fake illegal Social Security numbers with voter registration applications from the past several election cycles is what I was trying to say there. Here is a report about what Doge has uncovered. No wonder they're big mad at Elon.
$5 trillion in payments that are untraceable.
5 trillion untraceable payments. $5 trillion.
The budget line is blank, and they're worried about your Bitcoin. Yeah, 5 trillion untraceable. No idea where it went. and how it was spent. A $5 trillion blank check. Social Security sent out $72 billion in bad checks. Guess who resigned last night? The head of Social Security. Right when Doge asked Michelle King to have a seat because she was about to get canned, she says, "You can't fire me because I quit." And the press is acting like this isn't suspicious.
You may assert there's no waste in the Pentagon. You may assert there's no waste in
Stephen,
Treasury.
I'm not
you may
asserting, I
assert
don't
there's
think
no waste in
anyone would assert that,
HHS.
Stephen. Stephen, I don't think anyone...
Then why are you not celebrating these cuts? If you
Yes.
agree there is waste, if you agree there is abuse, if you agree there is corruption, why are you not celebrating the cuts, the reforms that are being instituted? Every day that no action is taken, the entire
Stephen, let's calm
salaries
down.
of American workers that are taxed disappear forever.
Stephen, let's calm down.
This is
We're
not...
We're not having a debate.
There's no reason
about whether there are
Well, you
places...
are clearly trying to debate me, and I will be, as I want to be, about the fact that we are saving Americans billions of dollars.
Why aren't they being celebrated every day? Thank you. This is another Amuse report saying, would you be surprised to learn that there was an army of NGOs with classified contractors with access to our nation's darkest secret who aren't accountable to anyone? Clinton approves the plan, 2016, targets of the Clinton campaign's private spying. Cybersecurity contractors paid to spy on political targets for the Clinton campaigns in the 2016 election, allegedly. Brian Cates says, actually, I've known about the deep state army of private contractors with top-level security clearances working for the federal agencies since 2018, when it became clear that Hillary Clinton campaign paid some private cybersecurity contractors with access to classified federal databases to be private spies for them. Waiting for the indictments. Thank you. Thank you. Right here, Zach shared this. I'm going to repost it. Instead of just exposing crimes all day, every day, can we get to the part where the criminals are arrested and justice is served? Please. John Cornyn turned his back on President Trump. Attorney General Ken Paxton says that. He's running in the U.S. Senate. Brian Cates saying you need to clean out the entire Bush Rove machine in Texas. That means Governor Abbott, too. Texas has actually been moving backward due to Bush Rove's state-level GOP consistently and constantly selling out to hand Democrats what they want. And it's the same uniparty shuck and jive. Things keep moving to the left in the state as conservatives, Bush and Rove people, take the bribes to offer only token opposition. Replacing Cornyn with Paxton would be a great start. But MAGA AF needs to overhaul the entire state house and the governor's mansion. Keep your eyes peeled on that. This is shared from the Sudden and Unexpected account, and they're claiming that there's an attempt to remove a child from life support to steal his organs. They're recommending that you make sure you remove your organ donation from your driver's license if you do not wish to donate. My question to you is, question of the day, do any of you have organ donation? Goodbye, David. Going to get the kiddos. Thank you much. Are any of you organ donors? And if so, do you have any concerns about it? I've always had concerns about it. But this is the video here. We've said we've never trusted this process, but not sure what's going on, but it appears there's well, here, just watch this. Let me put up the, CISA.gov/countervailing views, WHO.int and CDC.gov. But the allegation is that they're trying to take this kid off of life support to take his organs. They're saying steal it. But it sounds like he made a decision on his driver's license, or a decision was made for him that created the organ donor designation, and now they're trying to take him off of it to use those organs. And the family is all saying, nope, we don't agree to this. And they're saying, it doesn't matter what you agreed to. He agreed to it. Now he can't consent, and you don't have a legal document to speak on his behalf.
To speak with who's ever in charge of this hospital. Ma'am, I need to speak with who's ever in charge. You're trying to take my son off a life support and take his organs, and I asked for who's ever in charge. I asked for the director. I need to speak to the director. I need to speak to whoever is over Larry, ma'am. Okay. I'm asking you to speak to who's ever in charge of Overland Park Regional Medical Center. I am sending this to the news.
Overland Park, is this KC, Kansas City? I'm not familiar with the area.
I've asked you not to take my son off life support. My son would have not wanted his organs removed. All of us, all parents are here. We said no. We said no. Ma'am, please, can I get the director, whoever is over Overland Park Region? You just told me no, ma'am. Can you tell me no on this phone again? Tell me no again.
I am happy to find someone to visit.
No, I want to talk to who is ever in charge of this hospital.
Okay.
This hospital.
Okay.
And the attorneys that is sitting, that's saying that this is okay. That you said that they said this is okay.
You have the documentation.
Ma'am,
and she's just saying you have the documentation.
I am.
Your son
I need
signed on
them
his
to come in
driver's
and
license
my
to be an
son
organ
did not
donor.
want
Your son signed on his driver's license to be an organ donor.
that I
And we
signed when it was
appreciate
the
the gifts that
It's
he's
not.
given.
He's not.
And we appreciate the gifts that he has given.
That's all I
Now.
have to say.
Yes, can you go get whoever's in charge? Thank you.
It's a bad scenario. I don't know exactly, but we've never trusted the process. We've never trusted that shady interests involved in the industry would sell me out to make some money. I feel like my brother received some really shitty care, and you know what? Those hospitals, I believe they got quite a few bonus checks because my brother checked in with COVID and was treated for COVID and got the trach, and he died there. Were they trying to help him, or were they just trying to go through the check mark and go, all right, I want this payment, I want this payment, I want this payment, I want that payment? What do they care? What does anybody care? I've never had less faith in the medical industry than I do right now. Do your own research, and that nurse or whoever that was, a nurse practitioner or administrator, whoever that was, they seem very confident, like, hey, the kid signed what he signed, it's done, thank you for the gift, and doesn't matter what you say, he can't say it for himself, and he already said in his own, but like, I don't know, do you trust that? Do you trust that process? I don't know. Gaina Fauci here points out, I think now is a good time for Kash Patel to reveal who ordered the giant magnetic doors at the Capitol to be opened on January 6th. George Tenney tries to open them from the inside. He can't. Magnetic doors appear to the top. He looks up. Where's the mute? He looks up and points to the door. Greenside's pack looks in the same direction. Who are they looking at? He's not been arrested and is not on the FBI's wanted list. Oh. Tenney appears to instruct someone to disable the magnetic locks. Okay, let's do it like this. JG, employed by the House Sergeant at Arms, begins to pull them away. He tries to push people out. The men stop him. And there you go. The stream begins. Tenney then pulls in Officer BA, who's blocking entry. Officer BA appears to grab their gun and the men retreat. What was that? Tenney urges others to stand up. Where is this 11,000 hours of footage already? And the people are in. Tenney shoves another officer out of the way. Greenside's pack grabs a megaphone. Smokey Insider throws Officer BA to the ground. Holy crap. At the same time, Tenney tries to open the other magnetic door. Tenney then helps a man to a clearing. Yeah, they hurt that dude. George Tenney was arrested. And how the magnetic doors opened remains a mystery. Mike Ben says this has been an open question of considerable mystery, and it would be fantastic to finally have the answer. Cash Patel, Dan Bongino. There are internal FBI records on this that you can make public? Question mark. Families of politicians are profiting from leases to the federal government. We talked about that earlier. This report from Insurrection Barbie says during the recent Wisconsin Supreme Court race, Milwaukee election officials allegedly processed ballots in secretive back rooms, allegedly, blocking observers from watching the action. This should all be recorded. This should all be forced to be live streamed, hardwire recorded, and live streamed. Available for review. It should be checked and double checked. Select secretive back rooms blocking observers from watching the action. According to the Federalist, windows were covered, mail bins were stacked to obscure views, and the elections director, Paulina Gutierrez, reportedly kept these areas off limits, even if folks like Representative Dave Maxey, who got a stern talking to when he tried to peek inside. One room supposedly held stacks of blank ballots, and Gutierrez was seen hauling blue bags around, raising eyebrows about what was really going on. The city claims it's all legit, sorting ballots by ward and such, but the lack of transparency is maddening. Wisconsin law says observers should have a clear view of the public parts of the process, yet here we are with frosted glass, restricted access. Sources say it's a perception issue, which is putting it mildly. Here's my problem with this, she says. Every time Democrats who are in charge of administering elections in blue counties pull stuff like this, it makes every single sane person question the results of the election, and I would like to understand who that benefits. We cannot continue to watch things like this and then see no action afterward, because while I'm not saying this would have changed the outcome, what I am saying is that this is against Wisconsin state law. It's shady, and it makes everyone question the legitimacy of that race. Frosted windows to one of the secret rooms, another forbidden area, a worker near another frosted window, mail crates block. This is so sketchy. Look at this. Mail crates blocking the main window to the secure ballot room. You got to throw this election out and redo it. If that's really what's happening as purported, you can't trust that. And that should be recorded, and that should be seen by everybody. Where is the mandate that this is all recorded? Narrow windows and secure ballot room doors. That's hard to see through. Frosted window near the secure ballot room. Wisconsin officials prevented observers from seeing ballots processed, is the claim here in the Federalist. And yes, here's the reminder. Every election will be stolen until we fix the problem. You need paper ballots, no machines. You need voter ID. You need signature verification. You vote in person with the proof of life. That's how you have the most secure election. You can go to cisa.gov/rumor control for countervailing views. If they want an organ, they can have your accordion. All right. What else did I have to show you today? How about Andrew Schultz? This is, maybe I'll end on this one. RFK is working with HHS to do new vaccine safety studies. We don't know the risks of many of these products, he says. They're not adequately safety tested. Many of the vaccines are tested for only 3 to 4 days with no placebo group. I've always said I'm not going to take people's vaccines away from them. I'm going to make sure that we have good science so that people can make an informed choice, and we're not doing that science today. That's the head of HHS. You got to listen to that. Marx attempted to shut this down by, according to Brian Cates, by refusing to give these vaccine safety study researchers access to their VAERS system, especially when he was told exactly what they were looking for. The government has known the truth for a while, is the claim. These 4 women on the Supreme Court put illegals over the American people. What a disgrace. Tren de Aragua. Once again, we're asking Team YouTube, hey, here's our video. We're still asking, can you get rid of this hard strike on our account? nothing was ever identified. It's ridiculous. This body cam footage shows Natalie James, principal of Ridgewood Proud in Ohio. Ridgeview Proud. You know, pride is a sin. It's one of the 7 deadly sins. She's refusing to allow police to enter the school to investigate a bomb threat. She claims feeling unsafe with the police there after being confronted over her uncooperative behavior. That is perhaps a mental illness. Tanya Fernandez Anderson is resigning after pleading guilty to federal corruption charges. This account says, good riddance.
The do I have to do in this council in order to get respect as a black woman?
Oh, God.
What the do I have to do in this council in order to...
Bostonians against Mayor Wu shared this. Not familiar with this lady. But she's resigning after pleading guilty to federal corruption charges. Marjorie Taylor Greene says they spent $1 billion on furniture during COVID while government employees worked from home. You know, some people have said, was it really furniture? Some people have asked about Wayfair. Remember those stories? Could the furniture expenditure not have actually been for furniture since everyone was working from home? I don't know. Disgraced deep state operative Adam Schiff falsely claims President Trump is establishing a shadow government while 47 and the American people have been the victims of the real thing for decades. Carolyn Levy brought the tariff receipts for Pelosi and Schumer. It's glorious to watch exposing them. Hey, here's some good news. I reported this a while ago. Check this out. Am I in the right screen? Yes, check this out.
Video Fox 4 first broadcasted last week shows a Millsap Elementary School educator slapping toward an autistic boy. Moments later, another educator yells at him.
I said come here.
Before repeatedly hitting him with a toy, then throwing the toy at the 10-year-old.
Kids just flinching, getting hit by these two fat pieces of fat sacks of crap.
Chewing on things.
The incident happened in February. Alex Cornelius is the child in the video.
I don't understand why anybody would want to do this to any child, let alone an autistic child.
Because a lot of people are bullies and they get off on abusing other people.
Or a special needs child.
Millsap ISD says the educators involved are no longer employed by the district. Now, Fox 4 obtained arrest warrants for both educators regarding alleged crimes against Alex and 2 additional students.
You got to have a really kind heart to be a special education teacher.
And these people just don't have that. You got this kid flinching. You're abusing the kid. Stop that. Cleveland Cavaliers clinched the #1 seed in the East. Holy crap. Bravo, Cavaliers. Maybe my Cavaliers can win a championship this year. That'd be great. Bill Malugian says an update. The Salvadorian illegal alien soccer coach has now been charged by the Los Angeles district attorney with the sexual assault of a third-teen boy in December of 22. This is a 14-year-old boy. Senior DHS source tells me he entered the U.S. as a gotaway at an unknown time, and ICE had no prior encounters with him. He now has 3 alleged victims, at least, abusing a 14-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 13-year-old. Should have never been in this damn country. But here's a reminder. President Trump talking about what's going on, and will it be proven what's been going on?
It's going to be something, and I'm actually looking forward to the midterms. I really are. We're going to prove that all of their treasonous years of betrayal will not be forgotten, because it's treason. What they did is treason.
Yes.
When they allowed millions of people to pour in through open borders from all over the world, they came. To me, that's treason. What they've done to our country is unthinkable.
Please indict, convict, and penalize the treasonous people, please. Frankie said, you wonder if that kid was over 18. Which kid? The one... Oh, no, that was an older comment. I don't know which kid we're talking about. The daycare kid? The POS daycare ladies? I don't know. But treason. They're calling it treason. And I think it's pretty obvious. Here's Byron Donalds.
Do you acknowledge the impact that Republicans had during the Civil Rights Movement? Do you acknowledge that?
I acknowledge the parties flipped. People moved. There was a migration of people between the parties.
Do you acknowledge that Robert Byrd, who was the dean of the Senate, Robert Byrd, who was a lawyer for the Klan, never changed parties, stayed a Democrat to the day he died? Do you acknowledge that?
In racially homogenous districts, they like social welfare programs. They like democratic ideas. But they also are racist as hell sometimes.
Do you acknowledge that the federal judge in Montgomery, Alabama was a Republican, appointed by a Republican, and that was the judge that overrode the laws around the
I know we got a lot of Democrats in sheep's clothing. I know we got a lot of Democrats in sheep's clothing, and they're going to get weeded out soon.
I'm not talking about Democrats. I'm talking about what Republicans did in the Civil Rights era.
We got rhinos. We got dinos and we got rhinos.
Can I ask you the last question? Which party actually supported the KKK?
I'm going to come to your district and register a lot of poor people. I'm going to register them. I'm going to get the felons that have had their voting rights taken away that don't even know they can vote still now. I worked on felons' voting rights in Florida 7 years ago.
You ready?
I'm going to come to your district and I'm going to register so many people. I have nothing but time.
Do you remember the amendment about restoration of voting rights?
I have nothing but time. Who's paying you?
You ready? I endorsed it. I supported it.
Thank you for that.
I did that because when you pay your debt to society, you get to come back and be an American. I believe that.
You know, it's nice when you can have actual conversations with people. It's not very often this happens. They're trying to ask Chuck Schumer a question to denounce some violence here. He does the opposite, it seems.
Senator, what's your opinion of the violence against Tesla, their products? What are your thoughts on that? Do you denounce the violence against Tesla products and dealerships and cars in the streets?
I can't talk about Tesla, but Elon Musk is a disaster for America, and America knows it. Look at Wisconsin.
Thank you, Senator. Senator, what's your...
Got to get these people on record saying what they're up to. Glenn Beck here says, for years, the Western world only had one option to replace the post-World War II system. The World Economic Forum's Great Reset system of global governance and managed decline. But now Donald Trump has offered a second option, a Great Reset of the Great Reset. He's taking a sledgehammer to the globalist regime and letting everyone know it's okay to put your own country first again. What we're feeling right now is a shock to the system. Decades worth of globalist mechanisms are grinding to a halt and starting to move in reverse. This is why Trump said this is an economic revolution and we will win. Hang tough. Laura Logan here saying everyone needs to listen to this. For $100, people bought 1.2 million files of children being brutally battered, including babies. If each video file is unique, that means 1.2 million children. Arrests international child porn case in Florida. Man. And Laura Logan has thoughts on abuse. Didn't she just say something about whoa, this person whose 16-year-old brother was groomed by predators on the website, sanctioned suicide, and sold poison that he used to end his life? Oh my Lord. Protect your kids and tell everyone they know so you can collectively bring this to an end. Holy crap. FBI has returned phones to James O'Keefe. 3.5 years later, the FBI sent his 2 iPhones back. Huh. What a difference some leadership makes. Listen to Jack Posobiec here about this threat on President Trump and who's responsible for it. It might blow your mind.
In a filing last night in court down in the Federal District of Florida, Ryan Wesley Routh, the individual who was involved in the second assassination attempt on President Trump, was given a huge new piece of information. We've got now more evidence on his background, his dealings, and what exactly he was up to down there in the weeks and days prior to the assassination attempt on President Trump. Now, remember, this is the September 15th assassination attempt, not the Butler, Pennsylvania assassination attempt. This case has yet to actually go to trial. Tried to kill Trump on his golf course, but he was stopped. Secret Service fired shots at him. They missed, or perhaps were deflected by this rudimentary body armor that he had built up in a hide site. And then he vanishes, only later to be apprehended. What we do know about him was that he had extensive ties and travel within the country of Ukraine, and in fact participated in Ukrainian International Volunteer Force. What was Ralph doing in Ukraine? He was attempting to recruit individuals potentially from Afghanistan and other parts of the world, even Taiwan at one point he talked about, to bring them to the battlefield in Ukraine. We now know, and this is the biggest bombshell, that he attempted to contact a member of the Ukrainian military or someone associated with the Ukrainian military to purchase rocket-propelled grenades, RPGs, or Stinger missiles.
Who was this guy? And how involved was the deep state and Zelensky?
Known as an anti-aircraft missile. Now, what does this coincide with? Well, this time frame was back in August of 2024. What else did we hear going on in the fall, late summer and fall of 2024? We also heard those scares about President Trump's aircraft, Trump Force One. Members of Trump's campaign team were even using decoy planes during the campaign because they were worried about what? Anti-aircraft missiles. All of this leads to more questions as to who exactly was it that Ralph was talking to? Who exactly was it that either didn't report this or put it back forward? And what did the U.S. government know prior to the assassination attempt on September 15th, if this information was out there as early as August? Human Events Daily will never drop this story.
Something about the gate on his audio. It was like clipping right like the millisecond before in between his words. It was a little much. It can be tricky for sure. But when I talked with him, I was having all sorts of problems because I was trying to communicate in a very loud Bronx Trump rally, and it was hard to hear in the earpiece, and it was hard to get the right connection. And some of the issues were with their headquarters at Real America's Voice. But we need answers with Ryan Ruth, and we need them now. There's a father going inside where they're doing a drag queen indoctrination story time. Rainbow flags on the walls and people trying to groom the kids. Yeah, you got to stop that. The Babylon Bee says, in yet another cruel blow to China, General Tso's chicken will be renamed General Don's Oriental Chicky Nugs. Come on, that's kind of funny. General Don's Oriental Chicky Nugs. Oh, here's this piece of crap. This 25-year-old off-Broadway costume designer from Arizona was living her dream. And this 46-year-old man named Muslim Brunson, charged with attempted murder, assault, and criminal possession of a weapon, walked up behind Megan and slashed her neck with a broken bottle. Intensive care unit at Bellevue. This idiot has a criminal history, including a 2022 attack on a transit worker. And that woman, he likes attacking women, this piece of crap. This woman suffered a broken eye socket and cheekbone. Say her name. Why are crazy violent people being left back out? They deserve to stay in a cage. They lose their free reign privilege. Yeah. Do better. Megan Kelly asking, how did Barry become so stinking rich?
How much is enough money, according to the Obamas? 70 million? Because public reports estimate that that is their net worth, parlayed on the back of Barack Obama's 14 years of holding political office. He did not spend 50 years in government service. He did a stint in the Illinois State Senate. He did a couple years in the U.S. Senate before he ran for office and won. All right. And then he did 2 terms as president. And off of that, he's made himself over $100 million, almost $100 million, probably over, to be honest. We don't know all of the earnings. The Obamas reportedly own 4 luxury properties. A home in Martha's Vineyard, estimated to be worth some $20 million, in addition to properties in Washington, D.C., reportedly bought for $8.1 million, a beachfront home in Hawaii, reportedly bought for $8.7 million, and a home bought in Chicago for $1.65 million. Is that more than you need, Mr. Obama, Mrs. Obama? How much is enough money, according to the Obamas? 70 million?
Good question. Good question. President Trump, let's listen to the. Oh, no, we told you about the clean coal
industry. It has been my pleasure to be here today to help you usher in the golden age of America. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Coal miners, beautiful streets, golden age of America. Clean coal is back. There you go. Roger Stone saying rock solid proof of mortgage fraud, income tax fraud, campaign finance fraud, and state disclosure law fraud by Letitia James. It's all here. Go to whitecollarfraud.com. Let's see if Letitia James ends up getting convicted, getting charged and convicted. Mommy, why would anyone be against Doge? Oh, probably because those people have been stealing from the taxpayers for years and don't want to give up their scam, honey. Wayne Dunlap says Democrats are hysterical, saying Elon is stealing by reducing wasteful spending. They believe taxpayer money is theirs, and by stopping the spending, Elon is stealing from them. Elon is making sure our money is not going to corruption and fraud. Elon Musk is an American hero. We said same with Trump. We don't hate the puppet masters nearly enough. They have been at war with us the entire time. We're finally pushing back because they've gotten too sloppy and too greedy. America has been looted and rigged to the point of failure. No retreat now. No quarter given. This video is posted.
Hi, I'm Karen
you're a
Turner.
Democrat without
Hi.
telling me you're a Democrat. Looked interesting. Let's watch it together.
Hi, I'm Karen Turner. Hi, it's Nair. I'm a resident. Here you go.
It's fine. I don't need that.
Okay, fine. I'm Karen Turner.
You're just here as the ride, right?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm here as a concerned citizen and friend of the mayor, and been in Tenafly for 20 years.
Yes, Deb, this show is live. Welcome. Glad to have you.
I take full responsibility for them. And what is the reason they were pulled over?
The driver has all the information. He'll tell you.
No. I need to know.
No, you don't need to know.
Okay.
We're not involved here. You're picking them up.
No. I'm involved. Trust me.
Well,
I'm
I'm not
very
going to tell you. He's the driver of the automobile. He's over 18. That's all you need to know.
Okay. If you can.
We don't need to see credentials.
Okay. You need it. If you can give me a little bit of space here.
Who is this? Are you a commissioner?
I am a commissioner. One of the commissioners, and I'm heading up.
Do you have an ID with that?
That is my ID, and that is my business card. I am the commissioner of the Port Authority, and I'm heading up over 4,000 police officers. Okay? So, if there's a problem, I think I have...
There's no problem.
Well, I think there's a problem.
It's an unregistered vehicle.
Okay. Let's hear, why were they pulled over, first of all?
Miss.
No, don't call me Miss. I'm Commissioner. Thank you.
Commissioner.
Don't call me Miss. Get out of here.
They pulled over, first of all.
Miss.
No, don't call me Miss. I'm Commissioner. Thank you.
Commissioner.
Yes.
All due
Why
respect.
were they pulled over?
All due respect.
Yep.
Man, this lady's out of control. What is she even doing?
Why
The driver with us.
No. I need
Yes,
to know.
ma'am. The car's getting towed now.
Why is the car getting towed?
Go ask him.
No. I'm asking. You're the person
Go ask
who's ordered it, and trust me.
Miss, this does not involve you 1%.
Yeah, it does. It does. It does, because I'm picking them up, and I'm offering to take responsibility for them, and you can't even tell me the charges. I'm also an attorney. So I think if you can't tell me, what is the problem? That's fine. Why is it so difficult to just say why they're being pulled over and why the car's being towed?
Because everything has already been explained.
I know, but I know.
Why do you need to know?
Because this is impacting me, because I got 4 people who are coming back to my house, including people who live in New Haven attending Yale Graduate School, a PhD student, and I don't know why it's so difficult to say what the problem is. This is impacting me. On Easter Sunday, I got to take 4 people back to New Haven.
I'll be honest with you. Should I be frank with you?
Yeah, I want to know what the problem is.
I want to find out what happened after that. It was posted saying, "Tell me you're a Democrat without telling me you're a Democrat." I don't know. I don't know the context of this. What did the comments say? Like, was this? Oh, and then following this, she resigns from her job. Okay, if that's an update. Ivy League PhD students are evidently like ambassadors of the U.S. who have diplomatic immunity. They grace us with their presence in exchange for a permanent get-out-of-jail-free card. Do their licenses have a hologram that reads, "Can do no wrong, do not detain"? Oh, a former Port Authority commissioner issued a response. Oh, this is old. All right, it's from 2018. It was interesting. Trying to intervene after police pulled over a car in which her daughter was a passenger in Tennessee. And she resigned after her profanity-laced confrontation captured on police dash cam went public. Let her emotions get the best of her. Anyway, I saw that. It looked interesting. But what we just watched was, it's an older story. And this happened. These were allegedly the final moments of OpenAI whistleblower Suchir Balaji, who allegedly took his own life. And then the claims are that he was shot twice in the head, found deceased in his San Francisco apartment in November, just 1 month after blowing the whistle on ChatGPT. A second bullet probably entered through the mouth. No clear entry wound seen, but lodged in the back of the throat at the skull. The mother claims he also has a broken cheekbone and an injury to the side of his head, which was not in the initial medical examiner's report. Footage below is the final moments where he appeared calm while picking up his last meal. Orders DoorDash, was planning a trip, and then he offs himself. But my question would be, where, if there's video of this, wouldn't there be a video of someone going in there or coming out of there? If this wasn't done by this person, this actually raises more questions for me. All right, I got one more thing to show you. This is Andrew Schultz. It'll be my final segment of the day. Scrolling to find it. It's an interesting conversation. Chamath and Andrew Schultz.
What they said is there's going to be these price shocks. You're right. So year one is difficult, okay? But it could raise upwards of $750 billion a year, okay?
You're saying tariffs.
Tariffs. What they said that they would do is they would then turn around and cut the federal
income tax
for anybody making $150,000 or less to zero.
So what they're doing is using the tariffs to offset the price shock.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't.
But and this is the math, and that hasn't been 100% established yet. But instead of like putting the burden on the American consumer, we put the burden on the foreign country to pay that delta,
and then effectively subsidize the consumer through an income tax.
Now, to be fair, the $750 billion, I assume, that's assuming everybody pays the tariff.
And that's what? But then those goods would cost more if that cost is pushed on to the consumer. Maybe they would be, maybe they wouldn't be.
Fully.
Okay, so this is an important point. I would say right now it's a moving target, meaning the sharps before Liberation Day, The smart money line was at like 250 billion. Okay. That's Wall Street. I mean, we'll put smart in quotes, but that was their number. And part of why the stock market went berserk was they just got it totally wrong. And the back of the envelope math that I did and that a couple of my friends did, and I would say they're much smarter than I am, they got to 750. I got to 750 as well. Howard Lutnick, who's a commerce secretary, said like anywhere approaching 750, we have a line of sight to be able to cut income taxes to zero for anybody making 150 or less.
Oof.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I mean,
so we're in the magic zone here, guys.
So here's
you
the
know
thing.
what I mean?
So there's a perfect example. Like, there's all this conversation about the midterms right now. Trump tanks the stock market. People get screwed over by what some people calling inflation, but like the price shock. But if you announce at the end of the year, there's a $750 billion surplus because of taxes, and we're eradicating income tax for people making under $150,000, midterms are going red.
I mean, bro, forget midterms. They'll want Trump for the third term.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
They would want Trump for the third term. Exactly. We'll see how it all shakes out. Never a dull moment. That's why I'm doing daily shows. Look at the seals. Look at the Tim Walz people clapping like seals for this. Look at the useless idiots, they say. Anyway. But yeah, that's why I do daily shows, and that's why I'm happy to have all of you connected with me. Deb just joined us. You're catching the very end of the show, but please feel free to check out the beginning of the show. We're posting it right now. It should be up on Rumble. Just dial it back. YouTube, I guess. But Deb, you also need to sign up on Rumble because we were suspended on Rumble for no cause. They didn't identify anything. They said, was it misinformation or everything they do is vague when they try to suspend you? Misinformation or I don't know, a violation of a community. Whatever. They didn't like the topic we were talking about because it exposes their corruption, essentially. So yeah, follow the New American Media on Rumble, please, as well as Instagram, Facebook, True Social, Odyssey, Twitch, Kick, DLive, and YouTube. Still not functional on DLive yet. Still trying to work with them. I am getting ready to just drop them and stop messing with it because we were on like 2-3 weeks. Kick and Twitch have worked fine. We've implemented. You can't do the Rumble app. Why not? The Rumble app should work. Yeah, people are hinting that Trump would get a third term. They'd have to make some changes. And by the way, maybe those changes are a 3-term maximum for presidents and a 3-term maximum for Congress. Maybe there's a compromise people could have. As long as the red wave comes through and wipes all these commies out. I don't know. Yes, it is good you're on X following us there at American_media_. That's scrolling at the bottom of the screen, by the way. Get our podcast on Spotify and Apple at the Agree to Disagree Show. That covers the TNAM AM Show. We're also on Telegram and Signal at TNAM and TNAM Chat. It takes you in loops. Maybe uninstall and reinstall. Sometimes things just get glitchy. Maybe just delete it and then re-download it and try it again. That's worked for me when things get weird. And I've tried that with DLive, and I figured that would have fixed it by now. Unfortunately, it hasn't. You said third time's a charm. Maybe. Yes. Once again, if anyone wants to link up with us, we're on patreon.com/the New American Media. We appreciate all of our patrons who contribute. Thank you so much. Anyone on Venmo at Brian Engelman, Cash App, $ Brian Engelman, and PayPal at Fuzz Installment right there at the bottom of the screen. Anybody can pause it if you wanted to buy us a cup of coffee or, help us pay off some of this equipment that we purchased over the last year and a half to deliver a more clear show to you, whether it's the lighting, the green screen, the technology, the computers that deliver you the technology, the add-ons to the technology. Yes, you get into the many, many, many thousands really quick, but all of you contributors, you make a big difference. You help us a lot, and we appreciate each and every one of you. So that is the conclusion of today's TNAM AM show. The special thanks to everybody who was in the chat room. You know who you are. Tell a friend about the show. Please share our content, like it, leave your comments, and join us again tomorrow where we'll be talking about the news. Signing out for now. I appreciate you. I love you, and we'll talk to you again soon.